1, 2, 3, 4. Did you clap?
Oh, shit, I didn't clap, no.
That's just on my end.
Well, I pressed record. I thought we were doing 10 seconds. To clap first?
I told you to press record, and then I would give it a few seconds, and then I would do a countdown, and we would clap on the 4.
Oh.
Ready for it?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait. Okay, so are we starting and then doing the 4 countdown? So
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to clap when I say 4.
Right, but I'm recording already on the Zoom.
You are recording already.
Okay.
This is how you line it up in post.
So we're not just clapping for the hell of it then? Is that what you're telling me right now?
No, you're lining it up. You had the other guys do a similar thing. I saw you guys do it on the recording. How is this difficult to understand?
Well, we gave it 10, 10 seconds of silence.
Yeah, but then you did a count. I did the 10 seconds of silence.
Well, are we doing it after? When is the 10 seconds? Are we doing 4 seconds and a clap? And then 10 seconds? Like, what is this?
I thought you had pressed record 10 seconds before I did the first countdown.
Oh my god, okay, so we're doing 14 seconds.
You idiot. Okay, 10 seconds of silence starting now. One, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate in Mana Final Fantasy podcast. I am your host, Caleb Schweiss.
I am your other host, Joseph Igolier.
And today, guys, as you already know, because you hold on to our every word, you're longing for the next episode. Today we're going to be reviewing Secret of Mana. This game, as we've discussed, counts on our Final Fantasy playthrough because the first game was released as Final Fantasy Adventure in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we knocked it out. I beat it probably close to a week ago now. I think it was middle of last week.
I think I beat it before the coronavirus happened.
Yeah, I wish I would have had it then, because we could have done the second one too, probably. But
no, I only beat it 2 weeks ago, I think, about a week before you beat it, so
that's not bad. I had barely played it when you finished it, but
it has been long enough that I've completely forgotten the game, and also you're drunk, so we're not going to remember anything. You guys might as well just skip this episode if you want a real opinion on Secret of Mana.
Yeah.
I don't remember a damn thing. You're going to have to remind me.
That's all right. I remember it. I beat it. I beat it at least somewhat more recently than you. So, but next game we'll be playing is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. I'm excited to do a 2-part episode on that because our 2-parters, we always label it the game, Part 1. And so I think what we should call this next review is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, Part 1, and then Final Fantasy Remake, space, Part 1, Part 2. Because, we're probably going to talk about the 7 Remake for a long time and need to split it into 2 episodes. So,
you mean we're going to have to talk about the 7 Remake over and over again as they release each DLC? That gives you one new area each time?
Yeah. We'll have to play it all.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure they haven't said how they're going to release the other parts.
Yeah, that's something you were mentioning earlier, and that's an interesting take on it. I wouldn't be super surprised if that's what they ended up doing.
Here's the deal. So there's a few different options you can do here, and the reason why I kind of think they're not calling this Remake Part 1 and then another one called Remake Part 2 is simply because they didn't call this one Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. They didn't. It's called Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's it. So, part of me is thinking that it behooves Square to put out a game and only have the shipping cost of the physical items one time, and then they put out a DLC every 6 months or so that continues on the Final Fantasy VII narrative. And so, by the end, it is a complete Final Fantasy VII remake. But for now, they'll be able to, suck out $20 from you every time.
Yeah, I think they would probably make more money doing it that way.
They possibly would. If a large chunk of people who bought the 7 remake, which I'm sure it'll be a hit, if they go ahead and pick up the DLCs, then yeah, it would. Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like almost everyone that picks this thing up is going to go all the way with it. And I think that's what they're kind of banking on, too. If they do that, though, that's even more douche.
They're going to piss off so many people.
Yeah, that's even more douche than anything I have like conceived of as far as like douchebag ideas that Square Enix could pull off for this game. Because I mean, we already know it's just a huge money grab. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be a good game, of course. But I mean, anyone that says this thing isn't a money grab is just lying to themselves. At this point, that's like exactly what this fucking thing is.
We care about Final Fantasy VII so much, we want to completely replace it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how much we care about Final Fantasy VII. Like, come on. What? Do you remember earlier on in this podcast, we used to have a pretty regular listener who used to be on our forums and was kind of a douche on our forums. I'm not going to say his name. And then this person got mad at someone or something like that, and then came back under a different username, because I think what they had been mad about was like my opinion on them remaking FF7. They came back, and then they started like shit talking on the forums. I kept on having to block his IP address over and over again on the original forums. I remember that guy, and his thing was like, yeah, well, you guys are going to love the remake, and you guys will have lied. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm still pretty consistent about this. I think, I don't know, I think we're going to get a Midgar game. It's going to go 20 hours long. It's going to be Midgar only. That's what it's going to be.
And Midgar is the worst part about Final Fantasy VII. I mean, it's the worst section of that game.
You get out of Midgar. Because, it's just the first act. You got to get out of there, man. You got to go explore the rest of the world.
Yeah.
They've been working on this thing for years just for Midgar.
Yeah, seriously. I kind of think you're onto something with that, though. I think that's something they'll probably do, is just release it in chunks. I mean, that'll be nice because I won't have to buy all these epic tier collector's editions for almost $400 a piece if they do it that way, which is why initially I was thinking they weren't going to do it that way. I was thinking they're going to release it as a full game each time so that they can milk it, they can wring the blood out of you that way. But I think you're onto something with this alternate way of obtaining money. And I think it's going to cost a hell of a lot less production-wise because it'll just be a digital download every single time. And it'll just be the next chunk.
Their profit margin will be bigger. PSN will take 10 to 15%, and that's it. The rest goes to Square Enix directly.
Yeah, and the
distributor.
The other thing is it would also make sense because they've been talking about this thing as if it were episodic. And episodic isn't necessarily, 1 or 2 parts. It's usually 4 or 5 parts. And so if they were to make it episodic, I think releasing it piece by piece over a DLC after you do the initial buy-in with the main game is probably the best way to do that. And
release it piece by piece.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Slayer called it back in 1981, or whenever the fuck that came out. It's like
whatever.
Yeah, it's probably like 86, but it's insane though because it's gonna be a really expensive thing. If they end up doing it that way, I think this thing is gonna be like 5 or 6 parts. If they go the DLC route, I don't think it's gonna just be 2 large parts that you pay for. I think it's going to be like something like you said, like $15-20 per episode, and there are going to be multiple episodes, like 4 plus of these things. If they go the DLC route, I think it's going to get pretty pricey.
Yeah, this is one hell of a way of experimenting with only putting out a partial game and finishing it with DLC. You know, find the thing that fans want the most, mouth-breathing fans want the most, and, you know, then make them pay out the nose for it every few months until it's complete. I don't know. It's a guess. There certainly is a possibility they'll put out part 2, or they will do the DLC thing and then put out like Final Fantasy VII Remake Complete.
In the end,
later
just
on.
An Ultimate Edition that's like $100. Just in case you didn't get it before, now you can pay more than it's worth in the current day.
Yeah, so what's the date today? It is the 7th. I've heard that some people have already gotten the game as well.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard it's not very long either. I'm trying to stay away from spoilers. I haven't watched the last trailer because I
don't know what 7 is.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched the last trailer because I don't want anything to be spoiled, and I heard that it has spoilers in it, but I don't know. I mean, we know they're going to change the story, and I'd rather not know the changes going in to kind of organically feel them out. But you're kind of right. I mean, it's not like we don't know the game. You know, I've beaten it multiple times.
I hovered over a video, and it had some weird bumblebee dancers.
Oh yeah, the inn
from the whorehouse.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I want to make them buzz, you know, if you know what I'm saying. You just get like
They'll buzz all you want if you give them money.
Yeah, it's just like a God of War mini game. You just go in and you're just putting the little thing that you dig the honey out of the honeycomb with, and you like stick it into these giant honey cells, and it's just like this button combo thing. And at the end of the game, it's just like, oh! Just like all of them start pouring honey out. As you go along, the buzzing just gets like more and more unbearable to listen to. It's just like, God, it's so loud.
That one when you're wearing headphones, you think a bee's really like buzzing next to your ear and you're swatting around.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. I'm so excited for that.
It's like they're a bee like stuck in a window. By the end of it.
You're just sitting there like digging the honey out from one of the holes in the honeycomb and like lapping it out of another one. Oh man. God, that is nasty. Alright,
we should probably talk about Secret of Mana.
Yeah. So that's our next game, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. We'll be getting that pretty soon. I think I'll just get you to digitally download it because it's sold out on multiple websites, and the shipping delays that are happening right now are going to make it kind of tough to get a hold of. So you could just play it possibly before me even. You might even get to jump in on it before me. It depends on when mine arrives. It's already shipped, but it doesn't really mean anything.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm kind of having a good time in Doom Eternal right now, though.
Yeah, you don't want to get torn away from that quite yet.
Too many good games coming out at once, I guess.
Yeah, you're telling me
that I want to play.
Yeah, you're telling me, man. It's a lot right now.
It's a good time for video games to come out.
It really is. Yeah, I'm glad they're not getting delayed. It's like this is the time.
Time that thing.
I know. Yeah, it was Japan. It was Square. They put it out.
This is how we destroy the film industry and make the video game industry rule.
Exactly.
Make it so that you can't go anywhere and you have to stay home.
That's perfect.
That's how we shake things up, man. That's how we shake things up in the economy.
Yeah, it's Japan trying to finally be able to take over China. So they spread this thing in China.
God, don't even say that. Someone's going to believe it. Posting shit on Facebook.
They spread it in China, and now they're going to be able to easily take over China because it's wiping out their population.
They'd be like, well, the Chinese will keep a secret on this for a little while.
Yeah.
And it'll look like they did it.
Exactly. It's going to be perfect. And then, yeah, it'll look like they did it even more. And so even if Japan does move in on them, the rest of the world will look away for what China has done.
See, this is like some insider trading with biological warfare. You know, you invest in video game stuff and all, and like Netflix and everything, where you just sit at home and you're like, I'm gonna make sure that no one can leave. Make sure no one can leave, and then my stocks will go up.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. It hasn't worked quite that way, but you know,
genius.
It is. When we make a full,
except for the people who work on all those things can't make anymore. They're gonna run out of media. After like 2 years, we're all locked inside for 2 years, which we're not going to be that long, hopefully. You'd run out of media. It'd be people blogging at home on YouTube.
Yeah, that's true. YouTube would just rule the world again.
It'll all be retro reviews of shit. For like skits, Skype skits.
Yeah. Or we'll just revert back to radio dramas. Oh, just on YouTube, though. It's just radio dramas. And people get afraid, like, War of the World is actually happening. It's like back in the day.
Or, you know, we might go back to reading.
No.
Writing.
No.
What? No.
Who has time to read? I every time I try to read, I just go to sleep. That's why I have to do the audiobooks now. I have to.
I force myself to read. I try to read a little bit every other day or so.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to keep up on that.
I got my presidential challenge, where I read a biography on every president.
Yeah.
And Van Buren and Harrison do not have audiobooks available.
Ooh.
So I have to read the very dry Van Buren biography that I've been reading for about 2.5 months now.
So it's not
read it.
It's not an autobiography, right? It's not like them writing it themselves.
Oh, he has an autobiography, but I didn't pick that up. I got a biography.
How do you
got the most recent biography on
okay. So
1980.
Is that what you're doing? You're choosing the most recent one and rolling with that?
No, I'm going on Goodreads and I'm seeing what has the most ratings and kind of the highest ratings.
Oh, okay. So you're
like
the best
what's
one.
Been picked as the most popular biography of that president. So it's not some like bullshit biography. Yeah, just kind of, that's how I'm kind of picking. And also like what's available on Audible for some of these. Like there's like 60 on Thomas Jefferson. So you just kind of have to look at the ratings and stuff and pick one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But, you know, there's only like one on some of the other ones. So,
yeah.
It depends on how popular President won. I know there's an Audible book on Polk. I don't know shit about Polk right now. I know nothing about Polk.
He expanded into the West greatly. He was a big Manifest Destiny guy. He got a lot of land. Big push for that. That's all I remember from him, though.
Even more land than Jefferson and Monroe. We'll see.
I don't know. I don't remember if it was that. I remember that was...
each got more land. Like, this is the string of presidents now that have gotten more and more land.
Yeah, it makes it kind of disappointing once you get past, like, you know, Hawaii and Alaska. Everyone else is just a loser since then. It's like, you guys didn't get anything. I guess there's, like, the territories. You know, like the Guam and... the other one. The other island one.
There's I read a book on the U.S. Empire. It was How to Hide an Empire, I think was the title, which is like it's the kind of title that's like, ooh. But then you read the book and it's like, oh, it's not a ooh book. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, there's some heinous things that went on, but this is why we have all these territories.
Yeah. It seems like a real, like, editorial, kind of like eye grabber.
Yeah, And there was a little bit at the beginning, a little bit at the end, but most of the time, that was a pretty good book, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Secret of Mana is a game.
It is. It is a game, and we did in fact play it. So, it is an action RPG developed and published by Square for the Super Nintendo on August 6th, 1993. The Wii Virtual Console saw the game in September of 2008, and the Wii U in June of 2013. There's a mobile port in 2009, 2010, and 2014, because I just couldn't get it right the first 2 times, which, if it's anything like that Final Fantasy Adventure one, yeah, I can imagine that. I can believe it. I really can. We, of course, played the Collection of Mana that was released in June of 2017 in Japan and June of 2019, which is ridiculous, in the US. And we also saw a full 3D remake in February of 2018 for the PS4, Vita, and Windows. I totally forgot about that version. I might have played it for the trophies, but I liked our Switch version. Just gonna say it now. I think the Switch was a great choice for playing this game. Plus the other one's like a 3D remake, similar to like the FF4 kind of thing. So not as interesting to me.
Yeah, it's got voice acting. It's 3D, but it's kind of cartoony 3D. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the version we played on the Switch was a port of the original Super NES version.
Yeah. So it's pretty true to the OG, and I liked that a lot. I thought that was a really good move. So the game was also the direct sequel, obviously, to Seiken Densetsu, or Mystic Quest in Europe, or Final Fantasy Adventure in the US. It's confusing as fuck, of course, but
it's, Seiken Densetsu Final Fantasy Gaiden.
Yes.
So it still has the Final Fantasy title in the original title.
Right.
Let's not forget that.
So instead of making this one a Final Fantasy, Square decided to market this title as a new series, a new IP, which I think is fitting considering the definite differences from the 2 games series. Like, they just play very differently, these 2 things. They have a lot of similar like story aspects and stuff like that, but the gameplay is totally different. This one continues on the high fantasy setting that we're used to with the FF games, but what sets it apart largely is the combat. Rather than the traditional turn-based combat, Secret of Mana relies on real-time battles with a power bar build-up mechanic. The game is still a JRPG, which means a menu system. The game system is utilized as like a ring command bar thing, just like a circle of shit you can do, where the player pauses.
Yeah, it only takes 8 hours to figure it out, but yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I was like, oh, this is where all of my things are in this. Thankfully, every Switch eventually gets that Joy-Con drift, and the game just shows you everything else, because it's like, boop! And I'm like, oh, hey, look, there's weapons. There's all this other stuff. And, like, I can't stop it because it's spazzing out. Huge problem. And I was starting to get really pissed off near the end because for some reason, like, the Switch just does it. Like, there's no cure online that people know of. Like, people have sent it into Nintendo and, like, they've sent it back and then it'll start doing it again in, like, a month. It just drifts.
That's when you're randomly walking around and then you'll tap the right stick and then your guy will just, like, fucking book it in one direction. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like where you're not controlling the stick. Or I'll press the menu button to go select a spell, and then it'll just like spaz through all of the other little menus. So I'm like in the spell menu, and then the game's like, oh, inventory, items, overall like status stuff, and then it's like, oh, back to magic, oh, back to items, oh, back to the settings for your characters.
To do with the game.
God damn it! Oh my fucking god!
I think it's something to do with the game because I think it's just the one controller, and I think if you tap it a little bit, it does it. And then I figured out I can't remember what button I would press, or I would press the right stick down and have it be like it's R3 button or whatever, and then it would stop.
God, dude.
So I kind of figured out a way to make it stop quickly after a little while, like on accident, because I was thinking I got the Switch from Cameron, and for about an hour I was like, fuck you, Cameron, what the fuck did you do to this thing? Why did it fucking stop? And then I was able to figure out how to not have that happen all the time.
Yeah, it is a Switch defect, though. That's like something that they all get. It's like...
Oh, and it would start doing it when the power was low as well. God. Now when I couldn't control.
It's like a lazy eye that only happens when you get tired. Like when I get super, super tired and one of my eyes just kind of like drifts off, it just kind of like floats around in my fucking skull. That's what the Switch does. It's just like, I should probably go to bed right now. It's fucking... You're just flipping through the menu like, I just want to kill this guy. Like, can you just let me spam the spell? Like, god damn it. Why do you gotta keep doing this shit? God, it's so... I got so mad like a few times. I'm like, this is a really easy and, you know, pretty fun game, but like, my god, this menu is just... Like, I know they didn't expect, you know, 30 years from when they released some system to have a very massive flaw in its, like, design. Like, it's an incredible design flaw. Like, it's up there with some of the most unacceptable, like, UI issues or hardware issues of all time. And yet it's still a super popular system. It's like the Elder Scrolls of consoles. It's like, yeah, it's really fun, but it's broken as fuck. But it's got a 98 out of 100. But yeah, the game wasn't playable on release because it had a game-breaking glitch that they didn't patch for 3 weeks. But hey, it's a 98 out of 100 game. It's like, god damn it. Ooh. I still like this version, but fuck. The Switch, man, it's just... Oh god, I don't know what the fuck his problem is.
I don't know what the fuck the problem is with my parents' pets. They keep on coming in and out of this goddamn room. Driving me absolutely nuts. They're like, oh, Joseph, I'm not getting any attention because everybody else is asleep.
Yeah.
That's my dog voice. Yeah, that only happened to me a little bit. You have anything else on, like, the making of or anything?
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Okay.
So, let's see. Yeah, the game also features local multiplayer, and it did in the original version as well, allowing the second and third character to drop in and out of the game whenever. Really wish we would have played this together, but of course they're stupid and only have local multiplayer, no online multiplayer, which is super lame. The game was directed and designed by Koichi Ishii and was mainly programmed by none other than Nasir Gabelli.
Nasir Gabelli.
Oh, yeah.
Iranian-American Japanese friend.
That's right. The very
Nasir
one.
Gabelli.
The only one ever. So the producer was Hiromichi Tanaka. So Ishii, the director/designer, has stated that this is more his game than any of the other FF titles he had worked on in the past. So he kind of had more control over this than anything else. Final Fantasy III's leveling system has been cited as a huge inspiration for this game, and many of the game's battle system features were originally considered for Final Fantasy IV. Unused features of this game's mechanics were apparently appropriated by the Chrono Trigger team, which you can see, and I'll explain a little bit more of that later. Secret of Mana, according to Tanaka, was originally supposed to be Final Fantasy IV, with a more action-based, dynamic overworld. The game eventually became a separate project, codenamed Chrono Trigger, during development, which is ridiculous because the game's already known as Mystic Quest, which is another game in Europe, and Final Fantasy Adventure in US, and also Final Fantasy Mystic Quest in US. Like but the code name was Chrono Trigger. Like, my god, how many? Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, how many fucking names? I swear there was another one though. I was looking at the store. No, maybe it was when we were playing. Every time we have to play one of these ones that has 7 names, I like get worried and think like, oh my god, have we already played this thing? And I'm like, oh no, we haven't. It's just stupid. They were just stupid when they named it.
I got it all in my head, man. I got it all in my head. Now, if I were a European, I'd probably have a problem, but
yeah,
I don't care what they call Mystic Quest. Fuck them.
Yeah. Seriously. So I think that's hilarious. So before it became Second Densetsu 2 or Secret of Mana, it was codenamed Chrono Trigger during its development. So Tanaka also stated that the game always felt like a sequel to Final Fantasy III to him, which I think is interesting. I don't know if I really feel that way necessarily, but, you know, whatever. So Secret of Mana was initially supposed to be a launch title for the SNES CD add-on, which we've discussed on our other podcast, Nuke Clan. Once the contract between Nintendo and Sony to create this bad boy failed, Square adapted the game to fit the SNES cartridge. The game was altered for storage purposes, and the developers were hesitant to continue the project at all without the CD add-on space. They thought that too much would have to be removed to fit onto the cartridge. Management, of course, stepped in and overruled them, and the game continued on. One of the significant removals was the option to take multiple routes through the game that would eventually lead to several possible endings, which of course is what exactly happens in Chrono Trigger. So even more borrowing from that. The original tone of Secret of Mana was also supposed to be much darker, and Ishii estimated that about 40% of the planned game was dropped for space problems, which is huge. This was
yeah, I heard that actually. Yeah, they basically had to get rid of half the game and streamline what they had.
Yeah, so the game,
no multiple endings in this one.
No, it's all just one ending. That was criticized at the time for that reason, and it also was criticized that this was the cause of some technical issues that happened when there was too much going on in the game, so like a kind of a lag thing, which I saw a couple times, but really it was just kind of a weird, like, very slight lag for our version. These development issues were claimed by Level magazine in 2006 to be the main reason that Square moved their games to Sony consoles instead of the Nintendo ones they had been rolling with for so long. The English translator for Secret of Mana translated it in a mere 30 days, weeks after the initial Japanese release. The localization in the US was initially advertised as Final Fantasy Adventure 2. My God, yet again, ridiculous. Yet another cause for confusion. Ted Woolsey, good friend Ted Woolsey, great friend of the program here, a translator that worked on the project, claimed that space limitations led to a lot of the script being removed for the English version. He was unhappy that he had to trim things down so bare, and claimed that this title nearly killed him. So he really didn't like working on this thing, from the sounds of it, because he just had to gut it.
There was only so much space for the characters, the English characters.
Yeah.
On the screen.
I guess it was something to do with like the text box and like the size of things, that it was taking up more room.
So he could only do like instructional things, and any sort of character development was basically dropped. I do remember early in the game, as your guy is leaving the village, like one guy's like, and remember that your father and mother are dead.
I'm like, whoa, what? Really?
It's like, oh, okay. And I just moved on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is terrible dialogue.
Yeah.
But then later I read that and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like, what if he didn't know until then? He's like, okay, we're booting you from the village, and remember, your parents are dead. It's like, what? Get out and never come back. Oh my God. Yeah, so
he was basically saying, there's hope in finding them someday, I think is what he was saying, but it was just kind of random. There was a non sequitur. He's like, well, thanks for reminding me my parents are dead before I leave, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I really needed that boost.
I really needed that.
Get out of this shit town. It's a good way to make you want to leave.
That gives you an incentive to play the newer one if you don't have the Japanese version, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the new one has a new translation and it's voice acted and all that crap. So.
Yeah, it doesn't have very good reviews though, which is weird. But I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I'll probably pick that one up though at some point and play it again, because I enjoyed this game. I'll say it now. I liked it. But the game has sold around about, it's like 1.5 million copies is what Square has officially stated.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good game for a non-Final Fantasy game. That's sizable, So that's it for development. That's all I can really find on that. So let's get into the story and the plot. So first I'm going to do the game's setting. Like I said earlier, the game's set in a high fantasy world containing an energy source, named Mana. There was an ancient advanced civilization that exploited this power to construct a flying warship known as the Mana Fortress. This angered the gods of this world/universe, not really sure which it is, and they sent giant beasts to fight the civilization. This conflict was global in its nature and led to the near exhaustion of all signs of mana, so it almost depleted this magical source. It honestly bears a lot of similarities to Mako, sort of, kind of. It's like a more spiritual version of it, like a less visible thing, probably. But this was remedied by a hero who used the Mana Sword to destroy the fortress and the civilization. The world began to recover around the time the story starts, and the Empire seeks 8 Mana Seeds, which when found and unsealed, will restore mana to the world and allow the Empire to take the Mana Fortress into their hands. So this is what's happening right as the game opens. So the game starts out with 3 boys from the village Podos doing what all small boys do, disobeying their elders and exploring the world. They explore a local waterfall where a treasure is said to reside. One of these boys, our main character, Caleb, falls into a lake where he finds a rusty sword.
No, the main character's name is Joe Schweiss?
Oh, you must have played a different version than me.
I must have.
Yeah, some kind of a lesser version. So he sees a ghost who he keeps like badgering him to grab the sword, which he eventually does, and it unleashes monsters in the nearby area due to the pact that we discussed earlier in the plot summary. So the whole like planet not liking the mana being used thing. The villagers view the removal of the sword as a bad omen and banish Caleb from the village of Podos forever. A traveling knight named Gemma recognizes the blade as the mana sword of legend and encourages Caleb to re-energize the sword by visiting the 8 mana temples strewn across the land. During his journey, Caleb is joined by Sprite and Lass, or whatever you decided to name them. What did you name these people?
I named them... What did I name? I think I named one Dipper, and I named one Anna. Which Anna is like I don't even know why. I think I've met like one Anna in my entire life.
Yeah.
I don't really like have a connection with this Anna. But when I see like the 4 characters pop up, I'm like, Anna's easy.
Yeah,
I don't even think about that name. So when the girl came into the party, whatever her like name is in the manual of the game, like I called her Anna, and then I called the other dude, which I thought was a girl.
I did too for almost the entire time.
I called her Dipper.
Yeah.
Because just for some reason that popped into my head. That's the first thing that popped into my head. So Dipper seemed dumb the whole time because his name was Dipper.
Yeah, that'll make anyone look like an idiot. I mean, that's for sure. So the game centers around you visiting temple after temple, each with an elemental aspect to them, while being pursued by the Empire. The Emperor and his peeps are being mind-controlled, sort of, by like an ancient sorcerer known as Thanatos. Thanatos wants to create a new, peaceful sort of utopia thing. His body is deteriorating, however, and he selects 2 possible bodies to possess in place of his own. He finds these candidates in the kingdom of Pandora after he puts everyone there under a trance. These 2 are Diluc and Fauna. Thanatos eventually chooses to possess Diluc, who happens to be a love interest for Lass.
Also happens to be a Pokemon.
Yeah. Some of the names in this game are really weird. They're like stretching it. Like Thanatos is a pretty sweet name, but like Diluc, I was like that guy, and then Gemma. I was like, whose name is Gemma? Like if they voice acted Gemma, he would have to have the exact same attitude and voice actor as Barrett in the 7 remake. Like, it's like, you don't care about the mana? I was like, what do you mean you don't care about the mana? It's just like ridiculous, like screaming at you, just intense. You're like, look, man, I love the mana. Okay, we're gonna go jerk off all the mana seeds and unleash the mana into the world again. All right, I love the mana. Love the mana. That's who they should get to voice Gemma. Love the mana. All right. So the Empire finally succeeds in unsealing each of the 8 mana seeds, which is funny because you do the same thing. But Thanatos has higher aspirations in mind and betrays the Emperor and his men, killing all of them and taking the Mana Fortress for himself. The heroes eventually visit the Mana Tree, which is the source of the world's energy. As they do so, Thanatos blasts the tree, anticipating their arrival, and the remains of the tree speak to the heroes, telling them that the ancient Mana Beast, a monstrous dragon, will be summoned to destroy the Mana Fortress. We also learn that your dad fucked a tree, or I guess someone who would eventually be a tree. And it turns out that your dad was also the ghost you heard at the waterfall, / the previous Mana Knight, Saren. I wonder how that worked. I mean, I know it was supposed to be his mom turned into a tree, but I could just see, his dad like out there venturing, and then he just sees this lithe, like, delicious sapling over there, and he's just like, oh my. I see your flowering. It's like ridiculous.
God.
Oh.
Looking like a good looking knot in a tree.
Yeah. He's like, I bet I could put my dick in that tree knot. If I use some of that tree sap, I bet you I could squeeze it in. But I guess she turned into a tree later, which is, I mean, it's less creepy for sure. But yeah, you find out that was your dad, so that was a kind of cool moment in the story. I thought when you found that out, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Your dad's like telling you to do this thing in the very beginning of the game. So the group of heroes fly to the Mana Fortress on the fucking the dragon. What's his name?
I don't remember the name of the dragon. All I've been thinking is if you fuck a tree in the forest,
yeah,
nobody hears it. Did it really happen?
Yeah, if you fuck a tree in the forest and nobody hears it, did it scream at climax? Oh my god. I think, I mean, it's the ultimate question, because, I mean, who knows? You know, if no one's there to hear.
I can't remember what the name of the dragon is. Like,
it's
Fairy or something.
It's Flammy. That's what it is.
Flammy.
Yeah.
Flammy. I think it's supposed to be Flammy.
I think it is. It looks so weird though. But yeah, you ride Flammy up to the Mana Fortress and confront Thanatos in the ultimate showdown. Dialog uses the last of his strength to warn that Thanatos has sold his soul to the underworld and cannot be allowed to have the fortress. Dialog then sacrifices himself, which forces Thanatos to become this skeleton lich beast, which you, of course, dominate. The Mana Beast eventually...
Or you get fucked by. What are you talking about? Oh!
Did he?
Oh, man.
Did he kill you? Really?
No, he didn't kill me. It just took forever to kill him and used up most of my mana.
Oh, wow.
And so when I had to use a lot of mana on the next guy, dude, I was cutting it close. I had to restart the last fight with that save state many times.
Oh, I didn't.
Many times.
That's crazy. I did it once. It was a one and done for me.
Yeah, but you had like 10 more hours in the game than I did.
I don't know how many hours I have, because the Switch is like, man, you played for about 20 hours. I haven't even looked at what it is, because it takes days to do it, but I was a higher level than you, so
Oh, that was right. You were a higher level, not the amount.
I'm pretty sure I spent more time. Obviously,
I was in the upper 40s.
Yeah, I was in the 60s, so I wrecked this guy.
Yeah, I'm sure he was easy for you.
I would just wait until I would just power up, and then when he would stop doing his little scratch the ground thing, I would just do like a level 7 sword attack on him, and it would do. I think I did 3 9s like multiple times in that fight. So I was
able to do
max.
3 9s on the next fight, but only after I figured out every single mechanic in the game for the last fight only. Because you just breeze through the game until I got to those 2 guys, and I was like, I can't. I got like my ass kicked by the first guy, and then I save stated, didn't realize I was gonna have another save. Like I like that was it. There was just gonna be a second boss right after, and then yeah, dude. Oh, we'll talk about that in gameplay.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Dialog sacrifices himself. You fight the skeleton lich beast. And then the Mana Beast eventually flies in to destroy the Mana Fortress, which unfortunately you are standing on. You reluctantly kill the beast, and which is funny because it's like, why would you kill the Mana Beast? Like, why don't you just try to escape the fortress? Because you don't want the fortress lying around. I mean, it's like a massive killing machine. The next set of bad guys, it's like opening up like a vacuum, you know? It's like a Middle Eastern vacuum that you open up. You take down the one dictator, Thanatos, and then like 10 years later, you got another one that's like got his child army and this mana planet. So it's really weird that they don't just get the hell out of there, but I guess they can't. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like if you stop them from destroying the Mana Fortress, like, what are you gonna do? Just park it? Like, this thing's a weapon of mass destruction. It's like the Death Star, basically. And so I don't know why they saved the damn thing, but they reluctantly killed the beast, the mana beast here, and this kind of reminded me a lot of the Final Fantasy VII weapons It's a very similar sort of scenario. It's like when the planet fights back, kind of a thing. Like when the magic source in here, the mana is attacked directly, or it's threatened by the mana fortress. The planet releases this like monster to defend itself, kind of a thing. It's kind of playing off like the OG Godzilla kind of an idea, I guess. Not really the OG Godzilla, but like later Godzilla's where he's like a defender of people.
It's still Showa era Godzilla, but yeah.
Yeah, it's something kind of like that, where it's like, you know, mankind is transgressed, and thus this dragon has to come out.
Mankind has used too many nuclear weapons.
Yeah, yeah.
Therefore,
exactly. It's something along those
to help
lines.
us. Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of an interesting little thing that happened. But, of course, this is going to result in the eradication of mana from the world, and will actually destroy Sprite as well. I guess you're supposed to use a fully charged mana sword to slay the creature, causing it to explode into snow. I didn't actually do that. I just attacked it.
No, because your strength was high enough, you piece of fucking shit. Ooh! No, dude. This is what you're supposed to do to that guy. Okay? You're not supposed to be over-leveled so that you can actually make it past his armor number, which is a solid number every time. I thought there was a chance thing, but actually it's literally your attack number minus his armor number, which is at like 425. So you have to be doing like over 425 damage in order to even hit like 1 point off of him.
Oh, geez.
And then, yeah, so either you're doing a lot of damage or you're doing nothing. That's the key to that guy. But there are, if you have the other two, I would say girls, Dipper and Anna, they each get, at the end of that kind of section of the game, they both get the mana sprite. And the mana sprite has mana sword. And if you have them both cast mana sword on your guy, his strength goes up immensely. And on top of the mana sword, you can also cast, what was it? There was some kind of like strength spell on one of the other sprites.
Yeah.
You could cast that as well. And then I was able to do 999. But I would have to have those three things cast, and the mana sword thing lasts like 10 seconds. So I had to have the timing perfect. Otherwise, I wasn't going to get shit on that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I would get 1, maybe 2 hits on him each time.
Yeah.
And that's apparently how it's supposed to be done. But you leveled up enough where that wasn't a problem. That must have been nice.
It took forever to kill him. Like, I didn't realize, because I kept doing, because I saw the thing, they were like, oh, we'll just cast this. And I kept casting it with one of the people, and I was like, this isn't doing shit. Like, it's not even upping my thing.
Cast it, like, very close to each other.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, so I just kept waiting for him and just attacking him and then, like, curing him.
How much were you doing?
I think it was, like, 300-400 with a fully charged attack. And then a couple of
fully charged you were doing? Oof.
Yeah, one of the other guys
it would have been way made easier if you were doing that mana thing and you were doing the timing right. But timing was kind of a pain to figure out. And I kept on, like, thinking, like, dude, if I was playing this in a version without save states, which is exactly how people would have played this on the Super NES, I would have been
real mad. Yeah.
Because, I mean, I had to go online, and then I read descriptions on how you're supposed to fight him. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I did the same thing you did. I had one person cast a mana thing. I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, dude, I started that fight like 40 times. I'm not kidding you. Like, just trying to figure it out.
Jeez.
And then I kind of, like, figured out the other spell to boost his strength, and I'd be able to get him a little bit. Like, I'd be able to do, like, 200 or 300 if I hit him. Oh, man.
That's crazy. That's a long time.
I had to go on YouTube and watch someone kill him. And I was like, oh, they both have to cast mana. Oh, and it has to be right when he's flying up, so that right when he comes down, and he's not going to hit you by the time you've charged up to 6 or whatever on the weapon thing, and then you can do the Spinneroo attack and then just destroy him. But it takes a lot of timing with that thing, and it's the only fight in the game that has that.
Yeah, it's the only timing-based thing.
But it's based upon his armor. So if you're doing enough damage, I guess you can still just kill him slowly. But I wasn't not without a whole bunch of like buffs. And of course, I only had one walnut on me, thanks to the boss before. So I had a damn good time on that last boss. I'll tell you that.
Jeez, that's I didn't die. I think I died to one boss in the last like 2/3 of this game. Other than that, I didn't get killed.
There was the boss that was just like that was an oozy thing on the floor.
Oh yeah, the fat
figuring out what to do with that fight took forever as well.
I called him the Caleb Craig boss, and I was like, God damn it, he's so fat. I can't do anything to this fucking guy. And like I was
move, and I thought it was the game like glitching, dude. I
yeah.
walked into a part of the map that was like fucked up.
I loaded up my save state because I got real pissed because I got fucking shoved into a corner where I couldn't hit with anybody, and the magic was doing like 5 damage, and I was like, I'm not doing this. So I loaded it back up.
Reflecting it.
Yeah, or that. I loaded it back up, and I was able to get... I just wiped him out the second time. Like, I just destroyed him. He didn't even get that fat. But the first time, I was like, God damn, dude. Like, my fucking characters are like 700 feet away from each other, and this guy's little core is in the middle, and he's just like slopping around and not doing anything, really. It's just it was just a nasty, and I was like, I got kind of pissed at that one, though. That wasn't the one I had trouble with, but... There was another one there where he was just wrecking me. I can't remember which boss it was, but he did a lot of damage, like really
everything
quickly.
In the beginning wrecks you.
Yeah, that's true. The beginning of the game is very hard.
Not the beginning, but when you first get your full party, like the difficulty of the game goes up, and you haven't quite figured out the mechanics.
Yeah, I didn't know about the charge attacks for a while. Like I would just have to grind everywhere I went because I didn't know that I could do like these 2-3 plus charge attacks and do a ton of damage. I was just like, man, this game's brutal. Every time I get to a new area, I have to spend like 30 minutes grinding, and then I could just dominate everything. And then when I figured those out, it was smooth. But yeah, that when you get the full party, you get wrecked in this thing. Like there's no mercy from these guys.
I guess we should probably review the story. Did you finish the story?
Yeah, the only thing that we have after that, we finally get welcomed back to our home village, and we return the mana sword to its place beneath the waterfall. And that's pretty much what happens in the credits.
And Dipper is still dead.
Yeah. So, did disappear. I guess the mana should be gone from this world, based on what they were saying, or at least so low and dim that it's unnoticeable, but I think it's just gone, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like it's just dead. Like, they just killed the life force, the magical life force of the planet.
Something tells me that'll change in the sequel. Yeah.
Probably. I don't know if they're all... Maybe they have an obsession with, like, separate worlds with similar ideas, like they did in Final Fantasy, where they're mostly all separate, but I bet it's probably just going to be retconned a little bit.
I think the 3 mana games that are in Collection of Mana are all linear, like they're connected to each other, I believe, not having played the third one for more than like 5 minutes. But that the other ones are all spin-offy or prequels, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of them, I might be thinking of another game, but I remember looking at one of them, and it was like it was a game where you almost like make your own world. It's like an RPG builder thing.
It's one of them. You're right. There is one that's kind of like that. It's kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics A2 or whatever, or whichever one of those had the one where you build. You don't have a solid map. You like create it as you go along.
Yeah.
But yeah. Most of these games are multiplayer, so if the coronavirus dies down,
we could hang out.
We might be able to do a little bit of co-op.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, if it sounds like I might be losing my job in June. So.
I gotta let in the cat again. The story is pretty sparse, at least in the version that we have on the Super NES. There are random bits of dialogue. It is mostly utilitarian. You got to go do this thing because of this. And obviously we know that now is because of the translation. But otherwise it just feels like a pretty like cookie cutter sword in the stone. Final Fantasy, put the world back in balance kind of a plot.
Yeah. Get the blessing of the elements and the elementals in the world, the like magical creatures that help you with summons, and save the world, defeat the Empire. It's pretty much, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But if you're looking for depth, it's not there.
No.
Not our version. It could be in the 3D remake. In fact, I know it's a lot more expanded. So that might be another reason to pick that up. I've heard it's pretty much the exact same game, just 3D. So
yeah, that doesn't sound like a bad time. That's for sure.
No. But yeah, what did you? I think story's fine. That's how I think about it. It's just fine. It's fine for a Super NES RPG game.
Yeah, I think it's okay. It had had a couple really cool moments. Like I thought it was cool that you were sort of forced to end the mana when you were on the mana fortress and you had to basically kill a good guy. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was cool the twist at the end where the ghost was your dad, the guy calling to you. And I wonder if that's going to play into like your bloodline, like it's like an Arthurian sort of bloodline that you're running with, because you had the sword and the stone.
You gotta try trees, son.
Yeah, you gotta try trees. Nothing's tighter than a tree. Nothing's. What do you think the tightest tree would be? What do you think the best?
It's got to be a willow, right?
Yeah. Nothing's tighter than a willow, son. So you gotta watch out.
That pine.
You don't want
that flabby pine.
Yeah. That diseased, oozing pine tree. All those.
Splinter.
Yeah, the evergreens are like the Asians of the trees. They're like 20 until they're 90. It's like one day they're 90, and the day before they look like they were 20. So it's like you can't go with the evergreens, son. It's true though. Like look at all the developers of these games. They don't look that old. Like God, it's like if you look at like Hideo Kojima, the guy's like in his 50s. He looks like he's like 30.
White people just age faster than everybody else.
Yeah, I wonder if it's their diet, like the fish and the oil and stuff. Like, and we're out here just like leathering in the sun, like it's disgusting animals.
Well, to be fair to all white people everywhere, because we need fairness.
Yeah.
We're not meant for this. We're not meant for anything lower than Great Britain. Terms of.
That's true. Yeah, it's gonna be a few 100,000 more years until we are genetically.
We're here to soak up sun as much as possible. So if we're in any other type of environment, we burn.
Yeah.
That's what we're meant for. It's like, come on, give it to me. Otherwise, I don't have any vitamin D. I can't get it through my diet.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. True. So it's definitely the willow. I think the willow would be a good time too, because it would be like a pleasure with pain kind of a thing, because it'd be like whipping you with its willow leaves. It'd be great. I don't think your mom was a willow though. She looked like just a giant oak, like a massive fucking oak, or like a redwood, like just the most massive tree you've ever seen in your life. Of course, destroyed brutally, but. Yeah, I liked that part of the story. I thought that was funny. I was laughing at that when it's like, I'm your mother. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, your mom's a tree? I was like, all right, that's fine. I found a funny thing with the translation. They called the Hellhounds Heckhounds. Did you notice that when you were like targeting those things? In the
no,
the
I
hounds,
didn't notice that at all.
The hounds in the Mana Fortress, they're called Heckhounds. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? It's like one of those things where they like change the game a little bit. They're like, oh, the West can't handle the word hell. It's like, we're gonna make them Heckhounds. Because like the Hellhound is is like a creature in Final Fantasy. It's just like a dog creature. But so when they were called Heckhounds. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, is this a Mormon translation now?
Yeah. This is the Bible Belt version of it. That's why it took 2 years. They're like, how can we get rid of the word hell? And like they didn't understand the word.
They took 2 years to figure that out.
Yeah, they took 2 years to find someone that was like, what about heck? And they're like, oh my god, perfect.
Freak it. I guess we'll just put in heck.
Yeah. Exactly. But I thought the story was fine. I don't think this is where the game. This is really where the game excels in the story. Like, it's a pretty fine basic story. It's nothing like angering like the end of Lightning Returns or the entirety of the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, where you're just like banging your head against the desk and like you don't know what's happening, you don't want to know. The game's just so boring story wise. So it's not terrible, but it is pretty sparse. And I would like to see what they would have done or what they did do with this game originally. I don't think it'd be a bad thing to replay through on the PlayStation 4 version. I looked at it and I was like, $40? I don't think so. So maybe I'll pick it up when I'm on sale one of these. Or when it's on sale.
When you're on sale.
Yeah, when I'm on sale, I'll be able to afford it then. But yeah, it's I wish the story was a little bit more in depth, but I don't think it was bad. So I'm kind of on the same page as you. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's kind of fine. It's just whatever.
Yeah. A lot of it more has to do with like the tone and the look of the areas, you know. And I know this is like a big classic game for a lot of people, which is why we have so much information on the making of. Just because it's like a huge game on the Super NES. I don't think it was the story that really brought people in. I think it was more like the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. So let's talk about that gameplay. So the game plays very similar to Final Fantasy Adventure, but better in every single way, I would say. And for my version on the phone of Final Fantasy Adventure, every single way, because this game didn't just crash midway through a boss fight endlessly, like that damn thing did. I can't believe that thing has any more than like 2 stars on the store. It's like, yeah, it's
people
fun.
Don't have the same problem.
It's like, it's fun, but I wish I could play it. You know, like, it's fun in the small chunks that I'm allowed to play it in. The gameplay is definitely enhanced. I think adding 3 players was really cool. It allowed you to have multiple things going on. Like, you could launch a special attack, like your little spinaroo attack with your main guy with the mana sword, and then you switch over to a mage, and then you do some healing or you do some spell casting damage and stuff like that. So I like that it's a game made for multiplayer, and I wish I would have played it that way. But it still played very well as a single-player game. Because there's like a weird preamble to the Gambit system in this game, where it's like a really basic grid, and it's like, get close,
the position,
stay far away. Yeah, it's almost like front and back row in some of the older games.
Aggressive or defensive.
Yeah, aggressive or defensive. So I would just I had the mana sword, and then I gave Lass the bow, and I almost said Twink, but no, I gave Sprite. It was like some little bling sound kind of a thing. One of the guides I saw, it was like ass and like shit or something like that. And I was like, oh man, mine are way less immature. I was like, that's fucking Twink. But yeah, no, that would have been a much better name. But no, I gave him the boomerang, and I gave her the bow, and I had those guys just kind of stay back and do damage from a distance, and that worked out really well for me. I had them both set at the same exact thing, and then I would just manually heal. When things would start getting grim, I would just manually heal, and so yeah, the game it's a action RPG. So like, you got the main world. It's just like Final Fantasy Adventure, or very similar to Legend of Zelda, just with it's an RPG instead. So you've got the leveling.
Yeah, it has a lot more elements having to do with equipment and how to deal with your teammates and all different types of magic spells. I think it's just magic spells that make it a RPG more than anything else. Not just bombs in like one, an arrow or something.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about that grid real quick. I want to pause you for a second on that grid. So the game was brutal at the very beginning because I didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Nor does the game really tell you what to do. You just kind of do have to figure it out.
No.
But once you keep bringing the other party members, I was just getting brutalized all the time. And you said you leveled up out of it, but I started like playing around with the menu, and then I accidentally found that grid icon thing, and I clicked on it, and I was like, "What is this? What is this?
Yeah.
I don't understand it." And so I had to look it up.
You've got like
up what the grid thing was.
It's like a chessboard, and then after you like select where they're on the chessboard, it's like, do you want 0, 1, or 2? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what the fuck do you mean 0, 1, or 2? I'm like, I guess 2. I don't know. And then I'm like, sure, 2. And then until I learned that I could do this, the charge attacks, then I realized, oh, it's the second level of charge. Thanks, game. Like, I had to figure that out. And I was like, I shouldn't be doing this 10 hours in. I should know this from the beginning. Like, this is why this game is so easy for me, is because I spent forever stupidly playing it, because it didn't tell me a damn thing. But yeah, that menu is, oh man, the grid is like the only way to play this thing. Like, because they'll just sit there.
But once I adjusted the grid, I put everybody close and aggressive. I put everybody in the same spot so that they would just rush the next guy. And then it suddenly became easy. The game just went from like brutal to easy without me leveling up once.
Yeah.
In comparison to where I was. And then I would just like plow through every area. And then eventually magic became a thing. And there was a little bit of me adjusting. And it wasn't really a thing with until near the end of the game, which didn't matter because I had gotten used to magic by that time. There were some bosses that I couldn't touch, and I had to look up, like, why can't I fucking touch them? And then they're like, use magic. Started using magic all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't like the spinny menu system. I thought it was like really clunky and terrible.
Yeah.
But eventually I got used to it though.
Yeah, I mean it makes it spam heavy though. One of the things about this game that's really weird is like it's kind of a hybrid between an action RPG and a turn-based RPG, because you'll walk up to a dude and you'll hit him, and then they'll fly back and they'll take damage, and then if you swing while they're on the ground, like as they're starting to get up, they'll just take that damage later. And so it's almost like a turn thing. It's like a hidden turn-based combat, when it comes to the damage actually being dealt.
You have to wait for the weapon to be ready, or you have to be ready. You have to wait till your bar is at 100%.
Yeah, unless you're so powerful.
Wait for more, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can. Oh, but the nice thing is the magic is the exact same way. So like you'll find a spell that a certain boss is weak against, which I started doing the magic pretty early, and it was ridiculous, dude. Like, the magic in this game fucks, man. It hits so hard. It's so fucking overpowered, dude.
This mage fucks.
Yeah, this mage fucks. It was crazy amounts of damage flying out of there, and like you could just brutalize these poor bastards. Like the I don't think it was a worm. I think it was like a worm creature. Oh, it was a snake. It was a snake with like a weird pilly, like millipede looking body. Or centipede looking body, and like it would just come onto the screen, and that would just cast like 5 fucking times before it left the screen, not touching anybody. And like right as the spell starts to attack, you can slap that menu up again, and you could just start into the next spell. And it's crazy, man. It's like an insane amount of damage. And so I once you got that down, and once you got your characters like equipped properly, which you would do constantly with really basic equipment. The equipment in this game is like there's no customization at all. It's just every area gives you better stuff. And so as long as you had the right equipment and the magic that would do like that they're weak against, you would just melt. And then the game became like this amazing just boss rush game where you would just tear ass through all these areas, and you'd get to the next boss, and you get that sweet like boss music, and you would just like start casting spells like a madman and just start shredding whatever boss you're against. Like, it got really fun because like it was just ridiculous once you got over the massive curve in the very beginning of the game, you just wreck this thing.
Which really shouldn't have been a massive curve, because it's super simple stuff. It's just the way the menu is, I think. It's really mostly...
Yeah, it's just confusing because it doesn't tell you how to really do it.
The multiple spinning discs of the menu. It's just really weird.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I don't hate it, but I wish it was a little bit smoother.
Yeah, and the combat also has a few little issues. Like I think there's some aiming issues, like kitty corner type stuff you can't hit um, unless you do a charge up move. So it's not that precise of a sword play either in the game.
Yeah.
But it is. I think overall though the gameplay is pretty fun. Like it's a pretty fun game. The areas, kind of getting through them. Um, they're simple enough kind of mazes that you can pretty much get through any area without having to look it up. But not so easy and not so simple that it's boring. It's not like straightforward or anything like that. There was a couple points where I got lost in the game where I didn't know where to go next. Like there's a whole section where he's like, go check out this guy. I have no idea where that's at. But other than that, I think the game's pretty freaking fun, actually. I do think it is an improvement on Final Fantasy Adventure.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy Adventure, I played the original version. For me, it was actually pretty damn good. And this one just stepped it up. And I played like 15 minutes of Trial of Mana, and the combat seems even better.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It just seems even better. So I'm excited to get to Trials of Mana.
Yeah, too bad we have this gay Final Fantasy VII remake Part 1 in our way.
Yes. Fuck.
Stupid.
Game. People have been waiting. Oh god, when was that PS3 tech demo? When was that?
It was probably like 13 years ago or so. If not longer. That was a long time ago.
Everybody thought there'd be a remake then.
Yeah.
But no, near the end of the PS4's run.
Yeah, the very end. Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII.
Seriously. I agree, though. I think this is a really fun game to play. I want to play it again. It's really easy, and there's not like any extra stuff to do necessarily in the game, but it was just fun. I thought it was a really well-balanced combat system. It had some really cool little things in it, like you would occasionally see your character like parry and block and stuff like that, and enemies would block you, which was super frustrating when you had a max like charged attack and they would just block your ass like you're nobody. But they had really cool mechanics like that in the gameplay. Yeah, the magic. I think the magic leveling was really good. I liked that it was a kind of a build on Final Fantasy II in a lot of ways, where it's a use it and get better at it kind of a thing. And so there were a few times where I just would say, like, I'm grinding in this area, but I'm going to grind out this particular spell. And I'd go out into an area and I'd, like, waste all my mana, and then I'd run back and go into the inn. Thank God the inns aren't Final Fantasy II-esque, right? Or we'd be screwed. And this game just throws money at you near the end. Like, you're just ridiculously wealthy. And just go back out and level up until that magic level increases. And once you get, like, the cure on Lass or whatever he named her, once you get that thing leveled up, like, you can just do a cure all, and it gives you like 400, 500, 600 when you start getting up there in the levels. So I really liked the magic system in this. It's really, really basic, very simple, but I liked getting those incremental increases and kind of just spending a little bit of time leveling up the spells. Just like if I would get into a new area, I'd be like, all right, well, I'll grind out a little bit, kind of figure out this zone, kind of locate where everything's at, and then I'll level up some spells, and then I'll go back to the inn, kind of heal up, and then go back and level up a different spell. I had a lot of fun with it, and like I said, it's super basic, but it's a really well done little game, and I liked it a lot. The boss rush was super cool too. Like, I love boss rush mode. Like, that's what made Final Fantasy VIII, bearable in this playthrough that we've done. Like, just once you don't encounter anybody but bosses, it just becomes amazing. It's just like epic, massive fights every single time. No
you're
bullshit.
Encountering them in this game. You're just kind of melting through them.
Yeah,
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, it's not as bad. And near the end, I like when I got to the second to last area.
No, the armor rating and some of the guys cast reflect on themselves. Sometimes you actually have to skip because it's just not even worth it. It's not worth using up mana.
Yeah.
To attack guys because you're lost later. So
yeah,
not always that easy, but it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and there was, oh man, on the Mana Fortress, there were the fucking glob guys. Like, they game overed me one time because I wasn't able to do enough damage to kill them, and they, like, split off into, like, 6 different pieces, and they just wrecked, dude. Like, my guy was stuck. I couldn't, like, get him out of there. I changed to another person. I was trying to run away, but the AI is, like, super stupid sometimes, and they'll just run against a wall, like, full speed, and you can't pull them any closer because they have to get closer to you for you to be able to move on. And so I'm just sitting up there just, like, running like a fool into this wall, just getting wailed on by, like, Grimer, the Pokemon, you know, just endlessly. And I was like, wow, that got out of hand. And then the next time I come in the room, I just one-shot the thing. So there are times when it gets out of hand. And one of the most, the most annoying thing in this game is the Heckhounds, dude. Their fucking Ring of Fire move. I hate that thing. I hate it so much. They'll cast this, like, fire spell on you, and it'll just do damage and damage and damage and damage. But the worst part is you're just rooted to the fucking floor the whole time it's doing that. And they would do it all the time, dude. In that one castle thing where you had to, like, go and hit each orb in each certain area, like, with one of the particular spells of each thing, you know? Like, there would be hounds that wouldn't even be able to touch me except for with this fire move, and they would just fucking spam it. Like, it would get out of one, and then the other guy would cast the little, like, ring of fire, and I would just sit there and, like, I'm like, God, I want to move on to the next part of this fucking game and not worry about these low-level bastards, but they won't leave me alone. And you can't get to them because they're, like, down the stairs, but they can still cast on you. And you don't want to waste mana, like you were saying, like, because there's a boss coming up. Because there's always a boss coming up. And so, like, God damn it, those guys really pissed me off, but I do think this is a pretty fun game. What did you use for your weapons? What did you have everybody with?
Whatever was the highest attack. I kept the sword on the one guy, and then I think defaultly, I put a guy, because he wasn't making hits as well with the bow and arrow, I put the boomerang on him. Kind of wider attacks, and then the other guy, Dipper, had an axe, and then I just kept on leveling those things up, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
I think at a certain point I didn't get a weapon upgrade for something else, and then I switched weapons, but I can't remember what it was. I didn't really make a big deal out of what the weapons were, but because besides the main guy, who you're probably going to put the sword on because that's what he's defaultly as, the other two just use magic all day. Like, you have one kind of attacking, but they're your healer when you need them. So
yeah, I didn't
really micromanage that too much.
Yeah, I used the sword, the bow, and the boomerang. Those are my weapons, and I had those two stay back so that I wouldn't have my mages getting hit as often. And it didn't really matter all the time, obviously, and then I would just go in and start wrecking face with the sword. I liked all of the combat. Like, I think it's really cool that each of the weapons has their own, like, set of moves and things like that. I wish I would have explored that a little bit more. And the game does what Final Fantasy Adventure and Final Fantasy Mystic Quest did. Like, you have areas where you can use the whip to, like, wrap around a stalagmite and just pull yourself across a gap, a little crevice on the map. You had that. You had areas where you could use the axe to, like, hew down chunks of rock or trees or things like that. And so the environment was very interactive in this game as well, which I thought was really cool. And that's something that both Adventure and Mystic Quest did, which is hilarious because Mystic Quest, again, is one of the fucking names for this game. So, just in case you're, getting them confused, there's 5 reasons why that's the case. But yeah, I think this game plays really well. I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I played it pretty fast once I actually started putting some time in, and I got past the initial, like, fuck you phase of the game, where the game just beats you over the face over and over again. It's like, why don't you get a little stronger, Once I figured out how to actually play the damn thing, I played it pretty heavily. In fact, I think 1 week, like a week or two ago, it was the only thing that I had touched all week, and, like, I wasn't mad about that at all. I was really having a good time. So it's good, gameplay wise, for sure.
It is. Gameplay is good. Music.
All right, so music, the OST for Secret of Mana was composed and produced by Hiroki Kikuta. Kenji Ito was initially intended to compose the soundtrack for the game, but was replaced after he began working on other projects such as Romancing Saga. Secret of Mana would be Kikuta's first video game score, and he too had trouble with the hardware limitations present in the SNES. I guess he eventually ended up utilizing his own samples that matched what the SNES hardware could do, which kind of alleviated his worries about the difference in sound between what he actually composed and what the SNES would handle. So he took the time to figure out exactly what he could do with the hardware instead of like dumbing it down for the hardware, which happens all the time. They create these epic looking games and then they compress the hell out of them so they fit onto the GIMP systems that we're rolling with at the time. Final Fantasy XII.
Did you hear that fucking horse?
Horse?
Okay. It didn't,
Oh,
it
no.
didn't show up in your microphone.
No.
Dude, it was like the loudest. Like, I swear to God, the horse would have to be right behind me. I don't know if they're going to be able to hear it in my microphone, but a horse neighed really loud, just barely. Like, crazy. I'm sorry. Go ahead. So it's not composed by the same guy that composed the first Final Fantasy Adventure.
No, it isn't. They released an initial soundtrack in '94, and another more modern version came out after the remake in February of '18. So that's what we got for the soundtrack. What did you think of the soundtrack?
Okay. Now, when I started the sound, because Final Fantasy Adventure is one of my favorite soundtracks that we've ever come across, the first game in this series. So initially, I was pretty disappointed by it. And I was like, wow, it just doesn't have those strong melodies anymore. It's all atmospheric. But about midway through the game, I started humming along to the stuff, and I started to like the soundtrack quite a lot. And so, yeah, I like the soundtrack. I'm not as in love with the melodies as I was in Final Fantasy Adventure, but it's still a good soundtrack, and it creates kind of a mystical feeling to the whole game. It's kind of got like a bit of a mystery to it. It's kind of got an interesting feel to it. It's a pretty unique soundtrack, I think. It's melodic and atmospheric, and like a lot of the atmosphere that it uses, like that weird whale call or something that's in like the beginning of the game. Very interesting, very unique, very magical soundtrack.
Yeah.
But I missed the main theme. I missed the main theme from Final Fantasy Adventure, the do 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 do, which is way more simple than the music from Secret of Mana, which is pretty complex music, it sounds like. But I miss kind of the romantic sounding, old school Final Fantasy Adventure music in comparison, but this is still a really good score.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. One of the best songs came when you first got I think it was when the Mana Palace or the Mana Fortress first appeared in the air, and you would fly around with Flamey, and it was just like that really epic flute thing that was going, and I was like, man, this is a damn good track. It was like a Terra theme kind of a thing. It reminded me of the Terra theme mixed with the FF7 super slow Doomsday song that happens when Meteor starts coming down. It was a combo of those things, but once it gets past the initial stage, it just kicks into this super fast flute solo, and I was like, damn, this is a great song. I was like, man, this is freaking sweet. But I think you're right. I think this guy's a lot more atmospheric in his composing. I don't think he's quite as big as
the first game had 9 tracks, and they were all really melodic.
Yeah,
they're all really get stuck in your head immediately kind of tunes. This game didn't have that. Although I looked up stuff on this game, and I watched some retrospective videos, and a lot of people love this score. A lot of people seem to look at it as a really classic game score for the Super NES era, because this game was a pretty big deal on the Super NES.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that nostalgia kind of adding to the love of this score. I thought it was a good score. I just missed the original theme.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. Although the Switch version, you can do a music player on the menu. I don't know if you knew that, but you can like, it's like X or something, and you can select the tracks from each of the games. Excuse me, when you first launch up the game on the Switch, so you can kind of listen to the tracks.
Can I play the Final Fantasy Adventure soundtrack while I'm playing Secret of Mana?
No. It's during
okay.
It's like in the menu when you're selecting which of the 3 games you're gonna play. There's like a little music player option, so you can go kind of reminisce if you want. But yeah, that one track was really, really, really good. I kind of like the boss theme, and I did find myself just kind of like, yeah, it's just super hectic, and which is true for like the first few bosses. Like that Spike dog guy was an asshole, and like when that thing kicked on, you're just like, oh god, he's coming.
Spike dogs are always assholes.
Exactly, spike dogs are terrible. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't know where I'd rank it against the other one, but I think it has some pretty high highs, but overall it's probably not as strong of a soundtrack. But I still really liked the OST in this thing. I think he did a great job. It matched very well.
I'm pretty sure he does the soundtrack for the second game because it sounds a lot, or the third game because it sounds a lot like this one. Just sounds like a little bit different, like Conan the Destroyer soundtrack versus Conan the Barbarian soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost the same.
The other guy was like, "Yeah, I'm not coming back for this bullshit." But
that's not true. Actually, it is the same guy. It's the same guy.
Oh, is it really?
Like, did a new theme, but it still sounds a lot like the old theme. Listen to those 2 soundtracks together.
Man,
then of course
that
Conan video games take that theme and also just kind of like tweak it a little bit so it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, the Exiles. Man, that Conan soundtrack is bitchin' though, man. That thing is sweet.
Oh. it's I can't believe in that movie, which a third of it is amazing. The first third of Conan the Barbarian, I would argue, is pretty amazing. The rest of it is fun, but it's not an amazing movie. The soundtrack is like an A+ soundtrack in the B movie. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like it's a really complex, crazy score. Because the guy told him, here's the script and here's the storyboard, make an opera, and then he cut to the music. So the music was made separate from the cut of the movie.
Yeah. I think what I was reading too is that
the music is on another level.
Yeah, what I was reading is they actually told him, they gave him like the bare necessities of what like the premise is, and then they built the script around the soundtrack. Is one of the other things that I was reading, which is amazing. Like that's so cool that they're like, all right, look, we have this idea to do this movie on like Conan. And like, okay, give us the soundtrack, and then they built the.
He told him to make an opera. He told him to like listen to a bunch of Wagner and make a old school like story within his music.
Yeah, oh man, you're right. The first third of that is like so much better than the rest of the movie. It's like amazing. The way they build the characters and like the story and like everything is just epic. It's just crazy.
But once he gets to the town and punches the camel, the movie then goes into like. It's fine.
Yeah, it gets kind of ridiculous, but there's some pretty sweet stuff at the end with like the final showdown.
Yeah, there's good stuff, but it's, the first I would say like the first 30 minutes of that movie is like untouchably good. And of course that's all the Oliver Stone stuff. I think that's what they kept.
Oh, is that really what they kept from him?
Yeah, because apparently his plot was like really complex and crazy, and they had to just cut it down. But they kept the origin story part. They kept the origin story section.
Oh, that's lame. I had a teacher in college who that was his favorite movie, and he like went real deep into it. And he talked about like what was intended initially, and like the lore, and like the depth of each of the characters, and like the people that were watching Conan, and like. One of the guys that's overlooking him was also one of the guys that like enslaved him, and it was like this sort of thing where one of the gods was kind of watching over him to see if he was worthy of Crom. And I was like, that sounds so cool, but that's like not really in the movie. Like you can see traces of it, like that guy is there, But like, damn, they sure didn't use that in the end. But this game is not Conan. But you're right, it does. The soundtrack. I I don't know. It's like more of a 13 or 12 maybe soundtrack versus Naboo.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
Naboo,
you're
I
right.
would say, Final Fantasy Adventure guy is a lot more Naboo-esque, where he's like, let's make some real bitchin' music, and this guy's like, well, let's make some good music that fits the world, and he's not as worried about like epic tunes. And
Yeah, he's not worried. He's not all about getting shit stuck in your head for days.
yeah, not as much, but it's still really, really well done. And there's an argument for either of those two being the better option when it comes to a game. I don't really know which side I land on the argument, but I generally tend to like the bigger stuff more.
I do, and I wonder if that's because of the soundtracks in movies when we were kids. I wonder if that's that.
Yeah, probably. Because yeah.
90s soundtracks are over the top. Go watch like a slew of 90s movies, and you're gonna be like, wow, that soundtrack is in your face.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, so maybe it's just what we grew up on, and this is kind of playing with that because these are 90s games, anyway. So
exactly.
But yeah.
But what's interesting about this game is that it was like the first game was a Game Boy game, kind of considered a B tier kind of release, just a spin-off. Obviously, Final Fantasy Gaiden means spin-off, or side quest or something. It means something like that. This one they put on the main system. They put this one on the SNES, and it was a big game. And they basically created a new IP with it, and then they stuck to that IP for a few years, and it's now kind of gone on the back burner. Although they're giving us remakes of it, obviously. But interesting that they kind of perspective on the games is that this one was almost the first one. It Square put it out as like, this is going to be the next big game.
Yeah.
Then they had to cut a bunch of it, but it was still that. And obviously, like, because this came out of the Final Fantasy stuff, Chrono Trigger, certain ideas for Chrono Trigger came out of this project as well.
Yeah, this is a pretty influential project, honestly.
Yeah, pretty influential project.
Kind of.
So we got 3 masterpiece games out of like one development cycle. It was just 6 or masterpiece games according to the gamers at the time. It was 6 and Chrono Trigger and Secret of Mana.
Well, it was
all came out.
4.
We're all part of like the same project.
Yeah, it was FF4 that they were considering for this, but yeah, it also a pretty damn good FF game, But it's I think it's interesting, and this is the one, I guess, that proves our point against Caleb Craig, where he was like, no, Chrono is a totally separate thing. And it's like, well, yeah, eventually it became a totally separate project in a lot of ways, but
it started as a Final Fantasy project.
It did. It started as
that's why it's in our fucking thing. I don't know why I have to defend that all the time. It's like, this is...
It at the very least was a Mana. A bunch of the stuff was pulled from what this game was considered. They were considering for this game, at the very least. So it totally counts. Plus, I mean, who's going to complain about that? No one. No one's going to complain about a Chrono Trigger review.
I had a fight with Jake like a year and a half ago via text about this. He's like, Chrono Trigger's not connected in any way. And then I had to like look up a bunch of Wikipedia articles and be like, get that.
It's very loosely connected, but it's more connected than the Chocobo games technically, because those are just have like a character, a bird from 7 on. That's it.
That's right. And
we also shouldn't have played those
for 7. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah, so Xenogears we'll have to play as well, but. Yeah, that one's supposed to be pretty good in a lot of ways too. So I'm excited to get to. I really love this like era, the SNES/PS1 era of RPGs. They just did a lot of crazy things with RPGs and like
late 2D, early 3D.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool ideas that came to fruition. Like the entirety of Vagrant's story. Like that's such a cool game. Like gameplay wise, that's really good. And that was just like a weird thing that they did once, and that was it. As far as I know, there could be other games that are similar to that I haven't played. Maybe, maybe they're out there, but It just feels like they were in this huge experimental stage, just like, yeah, let's just do this crazy combat shit, just see how it goes, you know. And now it seems like they play it a little more safe. They're making things a little more Western with 15. But you know, it's why we can always go back to these things. And I think the Switch version is a great version to play for this game. I just wish the drift wasn't a thing. But yeah,
that's the Switch itself. That's its problem, I guess.
Yeah, it's not the game. The port is an excellent port. It's a really good port. I'd highly recommend playing it on here. We're just got to realize
it looks good.
There's some fucking problems with the console itself, but.
Well, speaking of how good it looks.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Art and graphics. It's got a very interesting, unique take on the world. Obviously, Final Fantasy Adventure's original release, it was in black and white, so there wasn't that much there. But this one kind of like moved it out a little bit. It definitely looks like a Square Enix game. It definitely looks like Final Fantasy. It's got pretty bright colors to it. Kind of in that. Actually, it probably looks a little bit better than FF5. It does. It looks like it's in the upper tier of the SNES era of like sprites and colors and all that stuff. Because now that I'm thinking about it, like FF5 looks kind of dingy sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
But Chrono Trigger and like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and FF6. Although it doesn't have the dark design of FF6 or anything like that, I think it's actually in that category of games. It looks really good for a Super NES game. I don't know. That's what I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it looks fantastic. I liked what they did with the art style. It's kind of a more, I don't know, it almost looks kind of like it's hinting at a sort of Dragon Ball Z style, just art style with the way the characters look on like the cover and stuff like that. Obviously, in game they don't really look that way. They just look like an old game. But I liked the art style. I liked the areas in this game. I thought the colors were really beautiful in some of these areas, like the one forest area where you go through and you go through each of the seasons and each of the sections of it. I thought that looked really cool.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
And that was a cool little puzzle too. It was way less dick than that.
That puzzle made me want to blow my brains out.
It was way less brutal.
Thanks for reminding me.
Well, it wasn't as bad as the reverse figure 8 one in the first game. God, that was ridiculous. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what is this? And then the guy's like, oh, do a reverse figure 8 around these 2 trees. I'm like, what? Like, who the fuck would do that? And then it's like, oh yeah, okay, now the airship's gonna come out of the ground. Like, man, you guys have some weird safe combos in this world, but so I mean, it wasn't as bad as that one at the very least. But I think that area just proves how pretty this game can be. You know, it's I like it. I think it looks great. I think they did a really good job on the art. The artists were Hiru Isono and Shinichi Kamaoka on this thing. Neither of those two I know. But I think they did a fantastic job. It's kind of I think you're right. It's one of the better looking games on the SNES, and it certainly outdoes FF5. That thing kind of looks just kind of dingy, you know what I mean? But this thing, I liked it a lot. I didn't have any problems with the way any of it looked. So.
Yeah, and I think like the spell animations, everything. I think it's a pretty damn good looking game. So the last category is Legacy. Before we get into our rankings, the Legacy is something I think I like I said, I kind of looked this game up after I got finished playing it, and then I realized, oh no, everybody looks at this as like a huge classic RPG, and I just kind of like thought of it as like, oh, it's that game with the really pretty cover art.
Yeah.
Before, and actually no, like it's pretty beloved. In terms of JRPGs in the Super NES era, it's definitely like one of the top non-Final Fantasy ones. It is considered like a pretty big classic. I don't know if it holds. It doesn't. I don't think hold up as well as FF6. I haven't played Chrono Trigger, so I can't really, judge it up against that. But it looks like. A lot of people played this game back in the day. A lot of people playing it on the collection. It was obviously a big enough game that Square Enix did a full-on remake of it, expecting to make money off of it. So it's a beloved game. I had never heard much of it except, like I said, cover art. You see Mana games in the used video game stores, and you're like, wow, the cover art's always pretty. That's really basically everything that I thought about the Mana games. Like, oh, the cover art always looks really unique and interesting.
Yeah, it's that, and then like, man, that's kind of a pricey game. You just kind of move on.
People must really love it.
Yeah, and then you never buy it. You never buy it. Yeah, it's tough. Like I've only seen one other copy of Dawn of Mana, other than the one that I bought, and the PS2 one. I can't remember which one's Dawn and which one's.
Dawn is the remake of the first one on the Game Boy Advance.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, jeez. Now I can't remember what the PS2 one was called, but Legend of Mana is the PS1 one.
Okay, so
which is the fucking expensive one, and that's the one we have to play together because you have a copy, and I ain't gonna pay what cost for a brand new game.
I don't think I spent that much on it. I can't remember how much it was, but it was. I know it was at least less than 40, but it is not right now from what I saw. But I've seen one.
40's got to be the lowest you can get it for right now.
Yeah, I've seen one copy of that, but I haven't seen a single other copy of the PS2 one ever. Like the one time I saw it.
The PS2 one's actually cheaper. I looked on Amazon.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Thank God.
I'm excited.
It's the one that's not 2-player.
Yeah,
Legend is 2-player. The PS2 one is like the only game in the series that's not 2-player.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and then there's 2 DS ones, which should be easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, DS isn't hard.
I can't remember any of the goddamn names of these things.
But yeah, they're just kind of those games that are like...
Because it's one word of mana. Always.
Yeah. It's like there's just one... It's the one games that are like a little too expensive for you to just kind of grab, but not so expensive that you're like, oh my god, should I buy this right now? That's
in
what...
Vagrant Story category.
Yeah, but not like Xenogears category, where you're just like, whew, man, is that expensive?
It is on the PSN store for the PS3, I think.
Oh, nice.
For the PSP.
Yeah.
Legend. But once again, my PS3 can't do a PS1 game. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. It can't even do a downloaded PS1 game. That's the weird part. That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, none. It doesn't make a single bit of sense.
Tell that to my $10 wasted copy of Parasite Eve.
Yeah, that's...
I know.
That sucks.
No fucking sense.
It doesn't. It makes zero sense. So I guess it's Legend of Mana is the PS1, and Dawn of Mana is the PS2. Okay, yeah, these are rough on the brain, dude. They're rough.
Which one's the Mana game that's on the Game Boy Advance? That's the remake of the first one. I thought that was Dawn.
I think it's Trials.
No, Trials is the next one.
Oh no, Trials
Super NES that wasn't released in the States until just barely.
Fuck, I don't know. I know there's one that is though, and I know Trials of Mana is a remake of the third one. Yeah, it's a remake of the third one. Oh yeah, that's just Trials of Mana #3. Oh god, what is that on? Oh no, that's that's right. Okay, so they're remake. God damn, they do this all the time. They remake the games right like after we play them. See, before they were like, oh,
it's coming out soon. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you guys want it?
I want to play the original. The original feels really good. If you want to play the remake, go ahead. But I'm going to play the one on Collection of Mana.
Oh, I'm playing the Switch one. I might play the other one later. But yeah, no, this is the way to play it. This port is excellent. It ain't no PS1 bullshit Final Fantasy 4 port where it's media and the inventory makes you want to blow your brains out because you have to go in and manually stack shit. It's like, who the fuck programmed this fucking game? Like, where's Gabelli? What was he on vacation? That you made this slap this thing together in like an hour? This PS1 port, and like it's like, oh man, this doesn't work. But like, yeah, nothing like that. These ports are great. The only problem is the fucking Switch itself, honestly. And it's not like the end of the world, but it's just when you're, dying and trying to resurrect a character, you get a little pissy when it's just like, boop, 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 and you're just slamming, and you're flying through those menus. Like, you can't even see what's happening, and it's like, God, could you stop, like, for 1 second, please? But, yeah, I think the legacy of this game is very positive. I don't know how the rest of the Mana series is, but I think these first few Mana games are looked very highly upon.
The third one is considered one of the best games on the Super NES that never came to the States.
Oh, nice. They said that about they said that about Type 0 though, so they're fucking liars. Okay, Type 0 was this coveted PSP game that they were like, no, you mustn't have. And then we played.
I started the game and I played like 5 seconds of it, and it started. You get to pick a character right at the beginning. There's like a bunch to choose from, so I don't know if all the campaigns start the same in Trials of Mana. But I played like 5 seconds of it, and they had to like do a little battle at the beginning, and I was like, "Oh my god, this feels good."
Nice.
Like the fight, like the action kind of commands, and where your guy was pointing, like it smoothed out what this had already done.
Yeah, and this is definitely smoother than the first game. So this is a pretty good. It's a pretty good little series so far. I mean, we're only 2 games in, but. I like it.
These 2 that we're at are the classic ones. It's Secret of Mana, and then it's Trials of Mana.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's supposed to get kind of weird. They're supposed to change quite a bit.
Yeah, and I don't hear as much about the other ones, so maybe we'll find out why. But I don't know. I'm still excited though. I don't know. I thought this was a great thing, and it's funny because, I like the Tactics series a lot so far, and then of course I like the Ivalice Alliance is like one of my favorites, but this one it's kind of getting up there, and honestly the competition's a little bit stale other than the mainline Final Fantasy games. It's like it's gonna knock Crystal Chronicles probably out of the park. I wish the story was a little bit better in this thing, I'll say that, but I mean it's not like Crystal Chronicles had a good story either, so and like Dissidia, like this is going to be up there, I think, as far as the series go. So far, I mean, we might, I might eat my shorts later for the fucking DS ones. I don't know. I haven't heard a damn thing about those, but as of right now, I'm excited about this sub series within the Final Fantasies, quote unquote.
And we're gonna put it right on pause, baby.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna put it on pause for this overpriced FF7.
We're gonna play FF7, and then we might play 14.
Yeah.
Or we might wait. I gotta get my fucking TV back in order to play 14 because I can't be going out to the living room at odd times to do that.
Yeah. And it would be very odd times with my schedule. And
I would like to be able to chat with you guys on the headphones, and I can't. There's no internet access in one part of the house.
Oh, okay.
And that's the part where I can play right now.
Got it. That sucks.
My parents' house is like, it's not a big house. Well, it's not a huge house, but it is long. And it's also in an L shape. So on the end of one L is where my parents' bedroom is, and where the internet is. It's where the Wi-Fi is at.
Oh,
and then they have the TV room on the other side of the house. So you gotta go down the L and turn the corner and over into the living room. So when they're watching Netflix and stuff, it just pauses to buffer all the time. And I'm like, guys, how many days of your life have you now wasted waiting for that goddamn buffer?
Yeah, I would.
Please get a better Wi-Fi box, or, God forbid, move the internet.
Yeah, it's easy. It doesn't cost very much to call the internet company up and have them put another line in, and it's not like it's going to slow you down or anything. Like, dude, I would
just like. I don't want a hole in the wall over here. Like,
God.
My parents are so much about the presentation of the home that they just refuse. Like, dude. That is their thing. Is like every time I was a fucking kid, dude, every fucking house I ever moved into, right? I've gone through this every time. Like 4 houses now. They move into a fixer-upper, and then they fixer-upper it. and then they sell it. And then they move into the next fixer-upper, and then they fixer-upper it, and then they sell it. The house I was in high school for 10 years, or I wasn't in high school for 10 years, but the house I grew up in, basically. The house I grew up in, and then, of course, they sold the house when I was 18, or when I had just barely turned 18, then they moved. They would just do there was one room under construction always. And so that's just my mom and dad's thing that they do together. Is just like make houses pretty.
Yeah, I liked that house too. I liked the Springville house. We filmed some of Emmanuel's song in there, actually.
We did. We filmed Emmanuel's song in there.
Yeah.
The new house is honestly a little nicer.
Yeah.
We also have 3/4 of an acre on it.
Yeah, I like that place up there too. The L is weird, and it's also funny that
it's weird and it makes the internet a fuck.
And you're right outside of the living room area too. Your room is right, from what I remember.
No. My room is right across from my parents because I didn't want to. The other room was too nice and I didn't want to move in and like fuck it up.
Oh, okay.
The other room was like the guest bedroom with a big, huge, like fluffy bed, and I was like, nah, I'll take the other room.
Oh, okay.
I'll be able to put my computer desk in there and it'll be fine.
Got it.
So the internet's better. So I can be on the internet on my computer just fine and, write or watch YouTube videos or chat with you guys or whatever. And then, but yeah, on my PS4, I think I can, they bought like a $15 internet extension that doesn't work basically. And the PS4 could connect to that, but not well enough to do anything. Like I can't sign into PSN, but it could download an update. And it took, I want you to guess how long the update was.
I don't know, an hour?
9 hours.
And you're home too. It's not like you're like, well, I could just download it while I'm at work. You're like, well, I guess I'm not doing anything today. It's lovely. Thank you. I can't believe they let it just buffer, dude. You know how mad I get at buffering? I will stop watching. I'll be like, sorry. When I was doing the Game of Thrones thing, I was like, sorry, man, I can't record because I'm not dealing with this buffer. Like, I get so pissed. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to die one of these days, and I'm not going to be spending all this time with this stupid little circle, like, flipping me off in the middle of my screen for hours on end. It's like,
I'll just sit there.
God.
I'll just sit there. And I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you don't have to live this way.
Since you moved here 5 years ago, it has been the same. It hasn't changed. You haven't moved the internet box the entire time. You're just cool with it. Days spent by now, days, because my parents watch like 4 hours of TV every day. So
God,
at that
dude.
point, man, it's like there's always a Netflix buffer sometime in there. And it's like I can't stand it. My movie watching has gone completely away during this coronavirus thing because I don't have any of my DVDs and I'm not fucking streaming. I'm not gonna fucking stream. It's not worth it.
Yeah. You can download, but I mean, again, because you can download off of the Vudu app, but again, that's going to take forever from the sounds of it. So, like...
Oh, no. That would be if the PS4 could actually reach the real router, which for some reason, the TV's little smart TV thing, that can reach it, kind of, obviously. It goes in and out, but the PS4 can't. The PS4 can't even find the regular network. It can find the extender.
That's ridiculous.
It's awful.
Oh, man.
First world problems. But
I know, seriously though. It's like, but you don't have to live that way anymore. It's like we're in America in the 2020s. Like it's not 2005 here. We're not dealing with like Comcast and DirecTV seeing who can have the shittiest internet connection anymore. Like there's a world of options out there. Like you probably could just directly hook the damn thing up and it would just be fine all the time. Like it wouldn't be amazing.
Yeah, but then there'd be a cord, and my parents wouldn't want the cord there because the cord's not pretty.
God, just put it under the floor. Like just hide it. You can hide it, man.
Dude, no, I can't hide it. They can't. They won't let it. It's not gonna happen.
It'll be like the Edgar Allan Poe fucking poem where like the hearts in the floorboard? Your dad rips up the floorboard. And he's like, the chords in the floorboards.
The thing my parents care about is just how the house looks. And I realize, like, if I'm like doing a little bit of like, why do I care so much how like people think about me? And I'm like, oh, it's because my parents do that. They're like, the place needs to be cleaned up and spotless if someone's gonna come over. Absolutely, every time. And like, my parents they always move to a house and have the world's nicest kitchen after they get done with it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anybody with a nicer kitchen than my parents. My parents are not rich. This is the priority.
Yeah.
Everything must look nice, which is fine. You know, it's nice to not live in like a hovel.
Yeah.
Like some disgusting pigsty. Because I go into other people's houses like, oh my God, the opposite world is Caleb Craig's old house.
Yeah.
Family when he lived with his dad. Ooh, there's like cat shit on the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah, they had like mice, and then we were cleaning out that one, putting up shelving in the one area, and like there was like mice stuff in there, and I was like, "Fuck, dude!" Like, fuck.
Like, how do you live like that? But of course, I'm thinking now with the background I have. It's like, how do you disgusting people live?
Yeah. That's crazy. That sucks, though. I mean, hopefully we can get you some good connection, because I think this would be a great time to play 14. Actually,
if I can get my TV, I can put it in my room. So I gotta wait for coronavirus or for Timo to decide he's moving. If Timo decides he's moving, then we're gonna have to smuggle the TV out of California.
Yeah, some contraband.
We have to go up into the mountains, through the deserts where there's not gonna be like a blockade stopping you from getting into the States, just to get a big screen TV out of Timo's apartment. It's like, we're not going to get the corona, but God damn it, we're going to get that plasma TV out.
Yeah, because I think this would be a great time to play 14, honestly.
I don't think it'd be the best time to play 14, frankly. It's all right, I got stuff to write. I got stuff to do. I got a Final Fantasy VII thing to play.
Yeah.
Do we have anything to say about the legend of Secret of Mana?
No,
Legacy.
I think it's Legacy. It is a well-known title. It's a classic in the eyes of the people, and I mean, it's one of the ones that you hear talk about, and it is still good. It's still a very viable game. It's a lot of fun. It's better than a lot of the games that we've played for this podcast.
And in terms of ranking, it is. I think the only thing that beats it when it comes to Final Fantasy Adventure is the soundtrack. But other than that, this game is definitely a step up from Final Fantasy Adventure.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that ranking. This is definitely the best one. So right now, it's Secret of Mana at the top, the helm, the king of the Mana series, and then Final Fantasy Adventure just below it. Everything about this game is more fun. The bosses are really cool. I mean, you just kind of wreck them, but it's a really easy game. But I mean, so is Final Fantasy Adventure for the most part. So it's just kind of a fun, good time series so far. And this one improved on the combat in every single way. So I'm excited to move on to the next one. Not next, of course, for the podcast, but eventually with Trials of Mana. But of course, we'll take a sidestep and knock out the 7 remake, and maybe we can do 14. I think that's there's something to that right there.
Yeah, we might. It just depends on if I can get my TV. Because if I can get my TV, I put the TV in my room, and then suddenly I have internet and a PS4.
Yeah.
Hooked up to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and we should really push for that during this time, because I don't know if you do some of the plans you have, when we'd even have time for 14. If you're.
Oh, I don't have any plans right now. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done having plans.
Oh, okay. So we might as well do it now before the Joe plans trickle in.
Well, no, I mean, Joe is getting stir crazy. So Joe is thinking of a bunch of projects, and then Joe is going, hold on now. As soon as coronavirus is done, you're going to have to get a job, and you're not going to be able to do everything you want to do.
Yeah. You got to hit it hard now then. You got to do a bunch of stuff now so that then you can still do stuff, but not so much. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Although
yeah,
it
I
doesn't
mean,
really work that way for writing and stuff like that. Like that doesn't just like you can't just like vomit everything out that you'll ever think of now, but
I
you
mean,
can.
I'm doing that right now.
But you can get caught up and on a bunch of other things so that when you are back to work, it's not so you don't have 7 million things going. You just have like a couple things going.
It's a great time to do first drafts right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. There you go.
You got the time to just pump into it, and you got nowhere to go. Like you can watch YouTube videos, or you can write. And so I've been writing. But yeah, our next project was going to be a documentary in Virginia, and it looks like we're pushing that off for multiple reasons. One reason is because I can't get a job while I live with my 60-year-old parents. Because I don't want to be bringing coronavirus back. So I kind of I had a talk with them, and my mom was like, "I don't want you to know." And so I don't know. This is like suddenly decided to be protective. And also protective of her health, I guess. And I was like, well, if I get a job, I have to get out of here because, I can't be going everywhere all the time and risking getting the disease and then bringing it back here because it's going to be likely so much worse for you guys than it is for me.
Yeah.
Even though I have asthma and stuff, so it still might not be good for me. And there's not really anywhere else for me to go except for like taking my parents' camper and parking it at my sister's place because I can't live with my sister because she has rheumatoid arthritis, so she's got a immune deficiency right there.
Jeez, yeah. So you're kind of screwed.
Everybody in my family has a problem.
Yeah, and no one else wants to move out right now either, and you're not really in a spot to do it. So
no. So I'm just kind of like, okay, I guess I'm gonna sit through this. And my dad is going to. He hasn't had to yet because I worked for a place for like 2 days. So I got like $200 in the bank. But on my credit card minimums, my dad is willing to cover until the Trump check comes in, and then the Trump check will cover my minimum payments on my credit card, and then I just have to wait until this thing blows over. And in the meantime, it's video game playing time, brah.
Hell yeah, yeah, and then they're down for it too, and they're usually kind of like, yeah, Joseph, you just take your paper, just sitting there, like they just like kind of like look down on it.
I'm not kidding you. I had the conversation with my mom today that I was like, I could never believe that I would have this conversation. It's like, so I woke up. I tried to wake up a little earlier just because I was like, I don't like not having that much of the day left over, like sunlight, And so I set my alarm for 9:30, and then I was just like, I had no reason to get up, so I just kind of laid in bed like half asleep for another hour and a half. So it was 11:30 by the time I got out of bed. And then I complained to my mom about it. I was just like, hey, I tried to set my alarm. I didn't have a reason to get up. She's like, yeah, there's not really a reason to get up.
Yeah, wow, that's...
Usually my parents would be like, you're sleeping in. I want you getting up. You should be getting up right now. Like, I guess that's where the internal guilt comes from. I guess that's where, like, oh, I really should not be lazy and sleep in.
Yeah.
But my mom was like, no, there's no reason to.
Yeah,
you might as well just be in the living room playing Doom till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Which I have been doing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's funny. It's funny because Jace says stuff like that to me. He's just like, you sleep all day. Do you know that? And I'm like, well, I mean, to be fair, I get home after you've been asleep for about 6 hours. So, I mean, it's not all day, really. It's just while you are awake. That's all. It's a similar guilt. And I used to feel really bad about sleeping in, too. Just because I was always, like, early and, like, getting up early and getting stuff done. But now it's like, I mean, I still get up and do stuff, but it's just later in the day. And once you realize that if you get up early, you just don't sleep at all, you stop caring. But if you have no reason to get up, yeah, you might as well just sleep in a little, just kind of catch up on sleep.
On the video games.
And video game, Doom. Catch up on the Doom series. It's been out for a long time.
Dude, I played 2 3/4 of Dooms right now. Yeah, I streamed Doom 1 and Doom 2 on the Nude Clan.
Yeah. Twitch.
On the Nude Clan Twitch channel.
Yeah.
Which was fun. So guys, check that out. Twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy. If we ever stream a Final Fantasy game again, it just depends on the game, whether or not it's easy to stream it.
Yeah.
And then also check out Nude Clan, which is a great show, even if I'm not on it. That is Twitch.tv/Nude Clan Gaming, and of course the podcast Nude Clan. I'm at the Godzilla podcast as well, which you can look up just look up Godzilla and you'll see the Godzilla podcast on your podcatcher. And you can tweet me at Joseph Pigolier.
You can tweet me at UFF Podcast. You can also follow this show on Facebook at facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. Follow us there. Check out all of our shows. Yeah, we have a Puff Puff Hour. It's a Dragon Quest podcast. That one's kind of died. Possibly forever, but they've got like 12.
That's a good advertisement. Check out our shows. This one's dead.
It's 6 feet under, but hey, it still exists.
Right.
We got some classic Getting Fat with Caleb and Joe. Those are always a lot of fun. And we also have For a Few Chickens More, A Song of Schweiss and Johnson. So check out those. And, the other one, Super Sexy. Swinging Fan Fiction, if you dare. But lots of content.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, that one's it's a real niche one that we have. Biggest podcast on the network according to Podcast Addict, which is hilarious. It's just ridiculous because there's no other stat that says that that's true in any fucking way, shape, or form. But
the stats make sense for the other shows, and then like for Super Sexy Swinging Fan Fiction, it's like 22,000 subscribers. I'm like, no, we do not.
Yeah. It's like the nightmare, but then you check it and you're like, oh, okay, it's just a lie. Like it just doesn't make any sense. But lots of fun stuff we've done.
I love going on and seeing that the other Final Fantasy podcasts don't have as many subscribers as we do.
I do too. That really gets me off.
I know it's not true on iTunes, but god damn it, on Podcast Addict, it's true.
Yeah. Biggest Final Fantasy podcast on Podcast Addict right here. So
right.
Get on there and make it even bigger.
It's the best podcast app. It's got a weird menu. It's got a weird, and it took a little while to get used to, but it has more like functionality or flexibility than iTunes or any of the other podcatchers.
Yeah. Alex uses Stitcher, and I'm just like, I just look down and I'm like,
Stitcher has cut off episodes. They cut down quality.
Yeah. The app seems better than the site, but. The site really burned the bridge on Stitcher for me, but yeah, so it's a great app. You can follow us there. You can just catch us wherever you catch your podcasts, obviously, because you're listening to it right now. You wouldn't be hearing this shit if you hadn't found some sort of podcast player. But yeah, you can support the show. Patreon.com/ well, it's not really / Ultima Final Fantasy. You can just search for it. If you so desire. You don't really have to. I mean, we're pretty sparse with our content these days, but yeah, if you feel like throwing us a few bucks, it's always appreciated. So that's
basically every $5 you give, the podcast will last another month.
Yeah.
If you just want to keep it up for people, we've got plenty right now. Like it's going to go on for definitely a few more years, but past that. Whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's got to be able to still kind of pay for itself, but that's how that works. So, thank you guys who ever supported us on Patreon. We still do owe some call-in episodes, which coronavirus time would be a great time for that, twice. So, as far as getting other people who were pledged on that level that were invites to the show, I think we should probably do one of those sometime soon here.
All right.
But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake is next, so be excited for that, guys. And
I'm gonna hit that thing hard too. I think this is gonna be like 15 for us, where we just hammered the game. So it won't be long.
Number one.
It won't be long. Yeah, I'm clearing the slate. Hopefully I can actually clear the slate, because I got back into Doom Eternal and it's kicking my ass because I forgot how to play the damn thing.
No, it's not because you forgot how to play it.
It's just brutal.
Dude, it's just a brutal game. I played Doom 1 and 2 right before playing it. I swear to God, it's just hard. Doom Eternal is just a difficult game.
It's funny
I play it on
because
the easiest mode.
2016 wasn't even that hard. Like there were a few parts where I died in 2016.
It's pretty easy, except for the bosses.
Yeah, the bosses are rough, but there's only one area that I remember that was also hard, and it was just like a million enemies. It was just like endless enemies. And I died
that's
once.
What happens in Doom Eternal as well.
Yeah, all day though. It's all day long. It's just
and
endless.
You're right at the beginning of it too.
I know. Yeah, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I'm gonna have to lower that thing, but I'm clearing out the slate. We're gonna be ready for 7 remake. I'm excited to just dominate this thing. Just make sweet, swift love to the 7 remake, and we'll give you all of the details on that as soon as we can. I'm gonna. Yeah, man, gotta save that planet. You care about the planet, Joe? Don't you care? That's like I've done that voice to my son before, like not intentionally based on Barrett, but I'm just like, yeah, come on, boy, like bring it on, like play fighting him. It's like I didn't realize just how cheesy that shit actually sounded until I played the demo. Just like it's just got like veins pulsating out of his head. It's like, don't you care about the planet? It's like, we're gonna blow up something that's raping the planet. Yeah, I care. Like, I don't think you do. I don't think you care like me. He's got like a raging boner in his pants. He's like, I don't think you care now. It's like, look, maybe I don't care as much as you, but I really do care. It's just insane. But I'm excited for all of that. I'm gonna love that voice act. I'm just gonna be laughing the entire time because it's so over the top. But it's his character was always over the top, so I mean it works. It's just hilarious to see in actual voice cast. Especially being such fans of Tropic Thunder, both you and I. It's just beautiful, so beautiful. But yeah, we're gonna hit that thing. I'm excited. It's coming out in just a few days from right now when we're recording this. And some people are getting it early. I mean, some people have already beaten it, and maybe I'll get lucky. You are kind of screwed and locked in, but one of the cool things about buying digitally, which you should totally do for this, is you can download almost all of it, and then when it releases, you download the rest, and then you just play the game. So like you can pre-download 99% of the game, and then just the last little bit you download at the very end, and then you just jump right in. So it's a really cool way to do it. I'm going to have to figure out the logistics of doing that, but
I'll do it. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I'm out here in the country already, and that's affecting me. Yeah. Oh, there was one more thing, guys. If anybody feels like rereading the Wheel of Time during this pandemic, I'm going to try to go through like 1 or 2 chapters a day, and I tweet about it. So if you want to join me on that, that'd be great. Other than that, though, I think we're done here, Schweiss.
Yeah, not really anything else to announce. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us yet again. So many episodes of Ultimate Final Fantasy. Thank you all to everyone who's been here since the very beginning, which is crazy how many of you guys are still around, and also anyone we picked up along the way. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please look forward to our review and your experience of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. But until then, guys, as always, enjoy the grind.
Okay, well, no time to play Doom.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. But you have fun with that. Are you still? Well, real quick, are you still streaming the old Dooms, or are you going just Doom Eternal right now?
Well, I've only been playing Doom Eternal, so.
Okay. And the internet sucks too bad to stream that, so.
Yeah, I can't be doing that on PS4. I can't do anything. I can't sign into PSN.
God damn, dude. Okay. Yeah, third world country, internet-wise, and like an otherwise nice house.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
is. You just got to show them a better way. They
don't know a better way, man. They're old, dude. They don't care. Oh, they don't care.
They would care if they knew. If they only knew, they would care, or at least they would not hate it. And thus, it would at least be the same, just less loading screen time. And
Remember, I didn't have the internet before.
I know.
In high school, they did not care.
My
parents are Luddites.
That is true and insane.
They don't care about technology, man. My parents are just 10 years older than everybody else's parents.
Yeah, it's a little more than that, but yeah. Everyone else's parents had us at like stupidly young ages. That was one of the problems. And you're the baby, and most of your friends are the oldest, so it makes it weird. But it also, you kind of understand it when it's like, okay, I know what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with people who just are willing to wait, and I just can't. I can't understand. It's like, you have all this money, like you're old, just spend your damn money on something nice. Like, it's fine.
Oh, my parents don't have a bunch of money.
Well, I mean, they got some, at least. I mean,
they got enough to do the fucking internet switch.
Yeah, it's like, so we're not talking thousands here, tens of thousands, like, paying cash for a car kind of a thing. We're talking like, maybe try a new router. If that doesn't work, then just call up the internet people and see what you can work out, It's
like, the internet can't reach to this room. What can you do about it?
Yeah, you really, all it is just put another line in. And you could set it up to where there's a desk right there, and there's no cord. There's a cord, but like I said, it's like the Edgar Allan Poe heart beating in the floorboards kind of cord. It's only a cord if you know it's there. If you have a computer desk or an entertainment center in that room, in front of the cord, there's no cord hanging out. It's the cord's like weaving into the shit and like plugging into things and being real nice. And we set one up upstairs for Alex for her work from home thing, and I don't even know if they charged us. Like, I think they just came and did it. Like, they just came over and were like, yeah, we'll just throw it in. And they did. If they did, it was like $50 or something to add a new line, and it doesn't like harvest all the data from the other line with the bandwidth or anything.
Did we get any comments in the Skype?
Oh yeah, on the Twitch. We had one guy say that, oh shit, we didn't ask for reviews of this game. Man, we're getting sloppy. Someone said, it was Jim, he said, just stopping by, magic in this game is great. I said, okay, bye. And then Terror Twin said that silent sneeze was the most professional thing I've seen all day. Because I sneezed with no noise. And then he corrected us, it was RPG Maker that we were thinking of. But I swear to God, one of the PS2 one is like, or the PS1, one of those two that I have is like a weird RPG Maker thing, and that's why I never played it, because I was like, oh, that looks like something that's going to take an eternity. I don't really want to do that. And then someone else said Ironwood, talking about the tree sex, and then they're the giving tree, and you don't want to be on the receiving end. That's kind of a jacked up book, honestly. Like, Alex has read it to Jace, and I'm like, man, the guy in that book is kind of an asshole. Because it's like the tree, he always goes to the tree, and he's like, can't you do this for me, tree? And the tree's like, well, I can't do that, but, you could use me as shade. And he's like, well, tree, can't you give me money to buy a house? And the tree's like, well, no, but you can fucking kill me and cut me into tiny pieces and make me into a house. And the guy's like, oh, okay. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
I think it's a metaphor for Jesus Christ.
Maybe, yeah, I guess it is. It's just like, yeah, and that guy's just every asshole that's ever lived. It's just a terrible person. And then No Objective Gaming said, new times ahead with the rubbing of the chin face. So he's excited for this quarantining. And this is really, I've been seeing it going around on Twitter and stuff. Like, this is when artists and like creators and stuff really shine, when there's nothing else to do and that's all you have. So give us all your money. But
except for the video game industry, where they have to work in their offices.
That's true, yeah.
And in movies, where they have to film with a big group of people.
Yeah, that's going to be
it's really hard. Time for writing.
Yeah, or I think it's a time to...
for this 2 to 4 years from now.
Yeah. I think it's time to like appreciate art is more of what it is. Like, all those creators over time. Like, read books and like listen to music and watch movies and do things inside. And that's where the arts really shine, so... Play the games with us.
Unless you're a necessary worker or whatever they're calling that.
Yeah. And then you're just working extra time, which is kind of sad. Everyone else gets to chill, and In
a world where grocery store clerks are considered like the highest honor right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're on the front line.
Essential. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I think it's funny. I've seen people complaining about being essential workers, and I'm just like, you know, back in the day, if you felt like you weren't essential, you could just quit. Like, if you're mad that you're not out of work right now, you might want to quit. And then you can be out of work right now. It's like, it's so weird. And, like, I'm kind of, like, annoyed because I'm like, God damn it, man, I could just be, like, relaxing, you know? It's like the world's crashing around me and I still have to go to work. It's like, God damn it. Can't we just relax?
You could be one of those people without a job.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Doesn't work from home. And then you're, like, looking at your mortgage payments coming up.
Yeah, and shit in the bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. So I'm very grateful for it. Yeah.
You could be that guy. You could be like Cameron, who's getting his hours cut.
That is true, yeah. And like I said earlier, I mean, according to the internet and some articles I've read, if we don't get some funding by June, I'm going to not have a job at all. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. But just because, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, like, the internet is just not trustworthy enough, even for me, for, like, really official stuff. Like, I don't like doing that kind of stuff online. Like, I can't imagine getting, like, my Social Security card online. You know, something like that where they just close down the Social Security offices. Like, I don't know. It just seems like there are certain things that need to be delivered to you by, like, a secure source like the Postal Service. And I don't know if I would trust Amazon or someone else as much, or the internet, like, that can be hacked and, you know, manipulated and all sorts of shit. And even if you wouldn't even notice if it was. Like, there are times where you wouldn't even know, you know, better or for worse, whether or not it's been tampered with. So I'd be amazed if that happens, but still grateful for the time, you know, being able to work extra like I have been. It just has made other things kind of tough, like playing and doing these things, which I know sounds like a real douchebag thing to complain about, but it's like, yeah, family, you know, that family time and playing my games been real cut down, but yeah, it's still been great.
You don't have to work the 6 days. You just work the 5.
I know. It's so nice, though. It's a lot. It's beautiful.
Is Alex still working?
Yeah, she's worked from home, so she's.
Oh, that's good.
She's still hanging out. And Wayfair is getting, like, they're getting hammered. Like, because they've been spending the last few years spending a shitload of money growing their base, like growing their products and, like, expanding everything and buying up shipping companies and stuff like that. And this year they were supposed to be like, okay, they're like, this is the year we're going to focus on profit. And then they just get, like, sledgehammered by this thing. But there's a huge increase happening right now because they sell furniture and stuff like that because of a lot of people working from home. And so that's been kind of like a surprise, like catch-22 for them. It's like, well, because with furniture stores like that, they do really well when the economy's not as good, but people are buying homes because loans are lower. And so, like, when the housing market is really good, they make a lot of money. But the housing market is not very good right now because the rates are all really high because the economy was, like, amazing before all this happened. And generally, when the economy is really good, the rates can remain high because everyone can afford the rates, and the Fed doesn't, like, alter them to lower them to keep the market going. So the market had slowed down, so they were kind of suffering a little bit. But I guess now there's, like, office supplies and shit that everyone's buying. I was reading an article earlier that was talking about that, and their stock's kind of going back up. So she was worried for a little bit. And now the funny thing is I'm the one that's fucking worried. And I'm like, God damn it, I'm the one with the federal job here, and I might be the one screwed over first. But
I don't think so.
I'd be amazed. I'd be amazed if they did that, because it's really like it's an across the board thing. Like, it's one of those things that everyone loves, and it is the highest approval rated, like, to work for. I mean, obviously, because it's ridiculous. Get paid way more than you probably should, but and there's, like, no, you just get slaps on the wrist forever and ever and ever. It's, like, impossible to fire people. So it's like I think it's like the happiest government agency from what I was reading as far as, like, workers go. And I'm like, I don't know.
Midnight shift.
Yeah, not
around to do the survey.
Yeah, they just go home after the 10 o'clock guys go home, and, like, the 7:30 to 4 guys are all just like, we're all just pissed because our lives are just terrible and wretched. We never fucking sleep. But you know, for all those other guys, they love it.
What would it take to get you the morning shift? Like to be a normal person?
Seniority.
Okay,
I think.
So you guys just gotta wait it out.
Yeah, I don't know if I would though. I mean, eventually I probably would. But like the extra money is pretty
I think with
good.
your family and the fact that your sleep has been terrible and that your diet has been terrible, it's not gonna improve.
Yeah.
It's not gonna improve unless you make a change.
Yeah. And that might be the change I need to make, honestly. But the nice thing is though is it's so convenient while the kids are young. Because like I wake up and then I watch them and then Alex gets off of work and then I go to work. It makes for not a lot of sleep, but as long as I go to sleep and take a nap when the baby naps, I can usually get a couple more hours in and get at least 6 or 7 hours of sleep each day. And if I wasn't working 6 days a week, I would have 4 days out of 7 where I slept 8 hours, just no problem. But the problem now is that tonight I'll get 8 hours, or probably 8 hours of sleep. And then tomorrow night I would also have gotten 8 hours of sleep because I would go to bed like a normal person at a normal time. So that'd be those 2 days. Saturday I don't have to worry about the kids. Sunday I don't have to worry about the kids. So that'd be 4 of 7. But now it's only 3 of 7. And they're separated by multiple days. So it'll be Monday night sleep and then Friday to Saturday sleep. So it's like just hell in between those two. And then a nice gentle weekend. But so it's got its benefits, but I think once they get in school and stuff like that, I think I'm probably gonna try to get to mornings.
When you've aged into a 60-year-old man.
Yeah, when he's
5 years.
Yeah, when he's a full-grown 6-year-old man.
Worth it.
It's if I'm alive, then I'll try to come in the mornings.
I don't know if that's worth it, man.
If I haven't died of natural causes at the age of 34, I'll go in the mornings.
I think you need a regular sleep schedule, bro.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, I could do it if I.
Everybody needs a regular sleep schedule.
If I did it, though, the problem is if I did it, I'd have to stay up real late on my days off. And I wouldn't be able to get 8 hours of sleep.
That's what I did when I worked at Maverick.
Yeah, but you were able to get 8 hours of sleep, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I forced myself. I put a face mask on, and I went to the bed at the exact same time every night.
Yeah. Well, the other day,
like
my body.
Militant asshole. And by the way, if I was living with other people, I would also tell them to shut up. Like there's one thing that I like to control better than anything else, and it's my sleep. I will fight that thing.
Fight to the death.
Fight people for that sleep.
It's
you got a family. I don't know what the relationship is there, but I know with my family, and obviously I'm the little boy. It's like this time to this time, and leave me alone.
Oh, I can take all of these guys. Don't worry. The situation is. It's in my favor by far. I could pick up 2 of them and use them as weapons against the other. But yeah, I know what you mean. And I used to be so bad. I've always been so bad at getting sleep. But now that I'm getting older, it's like, God. But now it's, the Alex will have her camera on and they'll be in the room playing in their room and just playing for a couple hours after she starts work, and she's just watching him in the camera, and I just sleep. Before I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, no, Alex is going to work. I have to watch him. But now he's kind of getting a little bit older, and he's able to play with toys for a while, and so we've kind of let him do that a little bit as long as she's watching him in the little baby camera. And if it gets crazy in there, I'll go up and stop it. But I used to just get by on 5 to 6 hours every day, and I can't do that anymore. I just can't do it. My body won't let me. I will sleep. If she doesn't wake me up, I'm sleeping. It's happening. And then 2 nights ago, or last night, I wake up to Alex what are you doing? And I'm just like, huh? sit up, and I'm like, what time is it? It's like dark outside. And he's like, oh, it's 8:10, and I'm like 40 minutes late for work, and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't showered. I look like I haven't showered. I'm like disheveled. I throw on a clean shirt just to pretend like maybe I took a shower, and I just like fly into work almost an hour late, and I'm just like, sorry, man. And then they're like, well, you know, it happens. Everybody happens to everybody after a while. And luckily they weren't douchebags about it, or else I would have been like, you know, it's real rude of you guys to be like writing me up for being an hour late when I've been working an extra day for the like last 3.5 months. But luckily they cut me some slack. But I mean, that'll happen to me. I don't even remember laying down. Like I remember getting done with the podcast and being like, okay, I need to go sleep. And I don't remember going upstairs. I don't remember any of that. It's just gone. It's like blackout. I just remember waking up 4 hours later, you know, 40 minutes late for work, freaking out. So I can't do it anymore. So I mean, maybe the best thing would be to try to, I don't know, regulate it to the point where I go to bed around 4 or 4:30 every day or every night / morning, and then I wake up when I need to wake up, and then I take a nap later when the baby takes a nap, and then make that my schedule. Because I think, you know,
so the time you gotta wake up changes.
No, not necessarily. Lately it's been. I'm gonna end this Twitch